A little bit to buffer. Okay. So welcome everyone to what I'm going to be calling from here on out these storyboard study buds, or the Saturday storyboard study buds. It's my Saturday 2:30 class is often where I teach animation or other things like that. But for the next several weeks, we're going to be focused on storyboarding, and we have been focused on it for like the last couple weeks as far as like getting kind of warmed up and prepped for it. On screen right now are a couple things that I want people to pay particular attention to. One of them is a Flubinui mega post on storyboarding tips and stuff, and I'll post that in both the Discord chat and the Twitch chat, people to refer to. And it has like a lot of stuff. It has like a lot of pretty much all the stuff in, like all the stuff in it that we're going to be covering for this week for you guys to be practicing. Um, and on
Seeing
the
the baby driver video still.
what's that?
I'm just seeing the baby or the YouTube
Oh yeah, because you're watching it on
screen
Discord.
still.
That's right. I haven't switched it on Discord. It's
Oh,
On
okay.
Twitch. It's just fine though. So I'll switch
All
it
right.
for Discord now.
Thanks. Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
there we go. So on the left side is like a bunch. This is on the left side is like a list of basic terminology for different types of shots and different types of camera moves and things like that. This basic sheet right here is one of the main things you're going to be using as a practice guide this week. Specifically this image right here, the terminology section here. There's tons of other stuff. Like if you want to learn like tidbits of information and stuff in a slow drip on the subject of storyboarding, then this entire giant mega post, this is a massive document right here. You can scroll down. Has tons and tons of stuff to go over. Um, but like we're gonna be kind of we're going to be like focusing on like particular sections of it to kind of study together throughout the weeks. And in this case, we're getting a little bit more ramped up. This last week was kind of like a warm-up week where I gave people a really basic assignment and just to kind of thumbnail and get loosened up a bit. So we'll be going over the homework for that too. But this sheet right here I want people to use to do stuff like this on the right here. So this is a really cool thing. This is by an experienced storyboard artist right here from Twitter. Then this is a scene breakdown they did of some Cowboy Bebop stuff. This person is known on Twitter's iCager. This is one of their two accounts. This is like their sketchbook account and stuff. They have a bunch of cool stuff, like some anatomy stuff, and other things that they've done here, and like other animation things, and so on. And they also do effects animation. But one of the cool things they do is a lot of cinematic studies. Here's a cinematic studies of the 80s anime series Mysterious Cities of Gold. Here's let's see here. Here's what is this? I think that's like a compositional study right there. But here's like here's some film studies from the Magnificent Seven, like paying attention to like how to abstract the lighting composition and stuff. Those are really nice, and some incredible stuff here too. I think that's got to be Seven Samurai right there, or Yojimbo or something. Yeah, Yojimbo. That's Yojimbo stuff right there. That's cool. Um, what I love about these is they actually like this was actually like almost kind of inking practice also for like comic book stuff too. So it's cool when when you can integrate your drawing practice in with your like studies and stuff too. Um, but yeah, what we're gonna be doing is like stuff like this. This is more like cinematic kind of studies. This is like more stuff like we're gonna be this is going to be a long-term thing for everyone here. Like I want to make this kind of a regular thing, and the regular part of your digestion of things you study is doing like little or small or larger like studies and breakdowns like these of of existing movies and TV shows and so on, whether they be animated or live action. I think he's got one on Spartacus somewhere in here. He or she. I think it's a I think this is a she, but don't know. I don't know too much about this artist. I only found them from Twitter, but they seem really rad. Yeah. Oh yeah. Here's look at that. They even integrated. They even. What's cool about these is they even use this as an opportunity for some figure practice. So if you can yeah, if you can integrate a little bit of figure drawing practice, or a little bit of prop studies and stuff, and doing your storyboard and doing like your cinematic breakdown studies, that's really awesome. Because then you can kind of get like the whole picture, basically, of the tools that you're going to be needing to make storyboards. But in any case, you can. I'm going to link this person's Twitter in chat because they have some really, really good visual guides, basically of visual reference points of like ideas for how you can handle your storyboarding study practice of cinematic studies. Like check this out, for example, establishing this city is the setting is in a city. Pan toward, you can make notes about observations you make about the storytelling and why they're making the decisions they make. Pan in towards church, horizontal low angle pan takes you to church. It takes you to church since the pan was always at the top of the church here. Makes sense you start here and pan down. They use like a little color coding and stuff to differentiate things, which is cool. And they try to keep it simple so it doesn't get very messy. You can see them kind of using like even though these are kind of rough lines, these are still done like these are still like done with like a kind of a line tool sort of approach. So they can get like really much more linear. These are like these compositions still follow like rules of perspective and stuff. So they're getting a little bit of practice in perspective in addition to like the composition studies and stuff. And they have to make little artistic decisions of how to simplify the image and stuff. But you can see them marking where the camera moves happen. They're also doing a little bit of guesswork here on what the rest of the background looks like, also based on what is shown on the frame, in order to like reverse engineer how this like camera move was done through this animation background here, which is pretty neat. So when you're doing these analyses, try to like reverse engineer it as if you're like making the storyboards for the film or animated or live action film that you're doing. As if you're making animated film storyboards for it. Like you will want to treat like when the camera pans over a background that could be potentially treated as like even if the camera is like slightly moving and stuff and the background's moving and stuff, it's okay. You can pretend that it's a still background if it's not moving too much. You'd want to like use that as an opportunity. Like try to figure out where an opportunity would be for like a camera move like that. Let's see here. Yeah, they're making notes about like where walk cycles and stuff. Having a pan, then a small walk cycle at the end saves on so much animation and dead air time on walk cycles. Yeah, what they're talking about here is there's this like a slow pan over this background right here. And then there's just like a little person walking across the frame right there, left to right or right to left or something there at the end. I think it's left to right. Right, I think it's right to left that they're walking right here. But they're making a note like like this little scene right here is basically like a TV animation trick for like making things more interesting than just dead air time to save on your animation budget. It's nice composition. That's cool. But yeah, that was an example of breaking down an animated film. Here's one where they break down some stuff from live action from Spartacus. If fight scenes, a visual roller coaster. They're making notes about like fight scenes. Vertical. Terrain is just as important for story. Ooh. It's wild. Horizontal. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, you can use these as an opportunity to like just like practice your figures too while you're at it. And these are some great action show, I like action show board artists. Rough figures. Let's see if they have anything else worth looking at. There's like compositional stuff here. There's compositional stuff in the Fluby Newbie document also. But anyway, that should give you a general idea. Basically, like the main home, like the aside from the like stuff to do with continuity from last week's homework assignment, the main homework I'm giving people this week is to start doing cinematic studies. That means stuff like what I showed you, breaking down the scenes and making notes about camera moves and characters moving. Trying to keep it clean. You want to keep it really clean and really like you want it very clear what's happening, so like at a glance people can immediately read and understand what's happening. If it's not clear, try to clarify it. That's an example of breaking down with lots of notes. This is an example of breaking down the action of a scene, because this is an analysis of like of the pacing of a fight scene right here. And this is an example of compositional studies. So they use like really flat, light, and dark to differentiate areas of composition that stand out. Like these. And they also use it as an opportunity to practice a little bit of figure drawing and a little bit of prop drawing and things like that. It's an opportunity for a little bit of inking practice. So those are some ideas to go with. I would say that the main one that people should be concentrating on would be this right here, where you go through a scene, you break it down, you make writing notes, you like this kind of stuff, like notes about your observations about what you think is happening in there, and like what types of shots are happening here. And this very, very clear, clean note. You can imitate this. You can imitate this this notes taking style that this person has done. But on the left here is a basically your glossary or your index or your thesaurus or whatever you want to call it of your terminology that you'll be using when you break down shots, like different types of shots from different distances and different angles, like little notations about camera moves and stuff. Yep. Little notes about scene transitions right here. Different types of pans and so on, different types of camera moves. And yeah, we don't worry about that. But this is the main sheet that I want you guys paying attention to. There's other stuff in here. There's other stuff on composition that you can probably get some tips from in this document as well. But the main thing we're going to be I'm going to be having you guys concentrate on this week is this terminology sheet right here. So, with that in mind, we're going to take a peek at people's homework from this last week. So, for those who weren't here last week, I assigned a simple assignment of just like 4 storyboarding thumbnail panels. So it doesn't have to be elaborately drawn. This is kind of like a warm-up assignment. I didn't want to overpressure people. Oh wow, a lot of people submitted. This is going to be fantastic. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take what people have done, and I'm going to do drawovers with notes and suggestions, and this is very important, if you're on voice chat or text chat for that matter, I want people to feel free to give their own input on what they think could be changed or improved. Heck, you can even do a drawover yourself over somebody else's work and post it, and we'll take a look at it because I want to. So this is extremely important. This is extremely important. Being able to give and receive critique is essential for filmmaking, and especially animated filmmaking. Animated filmmaking is a very collaborative process, and you're going to have to cultivate the ability to give and receive critique and feedback. You will be in storyboarding jam sessions and writing sessions a lot with other artists and animators throughout your careers. And so you want to cultivate the ability to analyze other people's work, make observations, and give your own 2 cents about how you can help plus it. And also the other thing is that I don't want people to feel that they should be shy about it if they are inexperienced. Sometimes you can get really good ideas from people who are pretty new, but make some interesting observations. Because we all have eyes and we all have brains, and if something looks off or something feels like it could be changed, sometimes we'll have that little part in our brain pop up. And we might not be able to articulate it because we're not as experienced with cinematic language compared to other more experienced people. But you might notice something, or you might be onto something that could springboard potentially to a better idea for somebody. So do not hold yourself back if you are inexperienced. I want people to Well, the other thing is, don't have an ego. You want to do this humbly and respectfully. You want to receive feedback respectfully, and you want to give feedback respectfully. You don't necessarily have to use somebody's feedback, but you want to give it its fair consideration. Don't be an asshole, basically. So anyway, sorry, I was kind of monologuing there. Somebody was saying something.
I was trying to figure out where to put the homework.
Oh,
I figured it out, so don't worry.
Yeah, storyboarding homework shares. So,
Okay.
So the homework this week was kind of a meta assignment. I have 4 panels. They can be, I prefer them to be rough thumbnails, but as long as they're clear to read, that's good. I mean, if you did work them up into storyboard panels, it's no big deal either. But I was hoping people would do multiple takes on the assignment, to kind of like loosen themselves up a bit if they can. It depends on how much time and energy you have to put into it. It's just a warm-up assignment, so it's not a big deal. I did like a really kind of a rough, loose. I wanted to put more effort into it too this week, but I was trying to pace myself around like the figure drawing stuff we were doing this week, so I didn't have as much energy as I wanted to put into it. But what's cool is because you guys have all done these things, now I get to get the juices going, because one of the best ways to like get juiced to make your own animation or your own storyboarding is to give feedback and pointers to other storyboard artists and animators. Like, this is going to get my creative juices going doing this. And that's why I want to encourage other people here. If you see an opportunity to make suggestions to someone's work, feel free to grab one of the images in the storyboard chairs and draw over it, make some notes and suggestions and stuff. Mind you, like, none of you have to have to follow the critique that people give, but I do want to make a note. If you are in a really serious class, with a really serious experienced instructor, which I'm not, I have no experience working in TV boarding or film boarding. I've only got experience from I don't have any professional experience in it. I have professional experience in animation, so I can give some feedback there that can be taken seriously. But and I can give some feedback because of my college experience in storyboarding in college. But I'm trying to learn with the rest of you. So what I'm going to emphasize is, if you are taking a storyboarding class with a serious instructor that you're trying to learn from, you want to try to defer to them as much as possible, because they are usually trying to get you onto something that is going to help you immensely. And when you receive feedback from a very serious instructor, you generally want to take it very seriously. Also, I want to ask about my mic volume. Am I getting any kind of like, is my mic really loud on Twitch stream? Because I'm getting the mic into the red here. Maybe I should lower the decibels just slightly. Let's try that. So let me
I can check
yeah.
if it's okay on Twitch. A second.
Yeah. Storyboarding composition. Yeah. So, in any case, yeah, it looks like almost just about everyone followed the parameters of the assignment pretty well. So, first things first, as we scroll through these, we can notice that some of these are easier to understand what's going on in them than others when you scroll by them. One of the things you really want to kind of aim for with your storyboards is you want them to be readable even when you like shrink down the panel. Like you can tell at a glance what's happening in them due to the clear posing in them and the clear composition in them. And let's see here. So that's something that we're going to be aiming for, and that's part of the reason why we're going to be doing these kind of cinematic studies. And like I said, the cinematic studies, this is a long-term exercise. This is something that we should be continually doing, like for years to come, basically. It's something that I used to do quite a bit in college, but I haven't done it in a while. So I'm looking forward to doing more of this. But anyway, let's take a look at some people's panels and stuff. Another thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to try pitching people's board. I'm going to try reading people's boards, and I'm going to try pitching their boards. I'm going to be trying to pitch some of their boards to give you guys an example of another important thing in the Storyboard Artist Toolkit, that is pitching. A lot of you here might be, not pretty new to this kind of thing, and you might not have any experience doing pitching, and you might be pretty shy and stuff. I want to tell you right now, you're going to want to get over that shyness really fast. For not just for like the giving and receiving critique thing, but also because you have to. Storyboarding is a profession where there's a lot of extroverted introverts. As in, when you put on the story, like you might be really introverted in regular day-to-day life, but when you put on the storyboard pitching hat, you transform into an extrovert. And that means that when you're doing your storyboarding, pitches, you want to put a lot of energy and acting into it for animation, for like animated storyboard pitches. You want to be acting out the scenes, making sound effects for them and stuff, and putting a lot of energy into it. The reason why you do that is because you are selling the idea to like the director or the client or the other production staff and stuff, and you're also trying to get them into the rhythm of what you're trying to communicate with the boards. So that is another thing I want people to start cultivating. I don't know if I'll have people do like pitches on. I don't know if I'll have people do pitches on Twitch, because that might be a little bit too mortifying for a lot of folks to have it like broadcast broadcast all over the internet. But we might do pitches in Discord at some point if people are for people who are down with that. But don't worry about that for now. We're not really going to get into that until I figure out a way to implement that works for people. We might do some experimental pitches with each other throughout the week or something, just kind of like loosen up and get into the idea of it. So anyway, let's take a look at some of people's homework. I'll just go through. Here's my contribution on the homework. It's not very much. Like, you didn't really have to do much more than this, basically. But the assignment was you were supposed to make and I didn't finish it. I didn't write I couldn't decide which of my ideas I would use as the pitch text line for my thing. Oh well. I can show you the main idea that I would have used, but I didn't add that in there. So, oopsie me, I was lazy with the assignment. So, so this is neat. This person did, I think, 4 different versions of the assignment, which is good. I would, and then looks like this red one, I take it here, is the main one that you feel is the strongest one. Let's see here. I'm gonna get an overview of everyone who submitted so far real quick, so then we can go through these. Okay, this one, cool. There's multiple. This is another one with multiple versions of the assignment. That's good. Some of these are a little bit more rough than others. Let's see here. There's this one right here. That one kind of reminds me of Peanuts a little bit with how the character's drawn. It's this one. Yes. Class of 20XX. Lovely. There's this one. That one's really crudely drawn, but that's fine for thumbnails. There's this one here. Yes. I'm just gonna line them all up here so I can just like shift through them as we go. Oh, this is some interesting posing right here. And this one's really, really... This is another multiple version assignment. And I like how clear these are. It's just a stick figure. But, I mean, it's like these are very, very clear. One thing I will say, though, is this is not 16:9 aspect ratio, but we'll forgive that for this. This one, I'll give you a little bit of help on perspective grids. So that's a 2D cross hatching pattern on the ground with us. I'll help you out on that one. This one I can help you on the posing on. This one I kind of like the idea that's in it, and I feel I can help you with some of the posing and some of the floor grids on it. Let's take a look at this one. I like this shot right here. This one reads really nicely. The composition on this one is pretty good. I think the posing could be improved a bit. This one, I like the elevator here, but I think the framing is a little awkward on this guy here. And I think that there's a little bit of spacing that can be done here to improve that one. The posing could also probably be pushed a little bit. We'll work on that when we get to that. Let's see here. I'm just making general notes and observations as I go through these. Let's see. So these are of course crude, but these are fine for just quick thumbnails. Yeah, I can maybe help you with some more clarity on these because I want to kind of see how these look if we add like clearer, darker lines to better define what's going on in the panels. Some of these are kind of a little bit too much on the loose side, I would say, for my liking. I mean, it's fine to draw really loose for thumbnails though, but we'll be able to punch stuff up like that with the drawovers I'm gonna do. So I'll try to get to a good portion of these today. I don't know if I'll be able to get to everyone, but let me see if I'm going to try to grab someone here. Well, let's go to this one first because this one has multiple examples. Let's take like a quick glance at like the first one here, and then we'll kind of see what this person built on to try to improve their approach. So let's see. Damn, how long am I supposed to stare at these freaking doors? Ding ding, the sound of the elevator arriving. Wrong elevator. Wrong elevator. A is for action, I'm guessing. Dialogue and action. D and A. Very good. Wrong elevator. A. Wrong elevator arrives. Um, she looks at elevator in bewilderment. G, G is, I guess, guy or something. I don't know, but rushes to the closing doors. Mr. Avery, listen, it's a real thing. So a couple of people in their 70th. Yeah, Robin Bank to trip. Did a Robin Bank to pay for trip? This one's a little kind of run-on-y there. So yeah. Let's compare. Like, looks like the general idea is that you're trying to rush into the elevator to pitch to the elevator, but you didn't really you didn't really set up that the elevator was an anthropomorphic. So the parameters of the assignment, folks, was the parameters of the assignment for the week this week was a character who's like kind of an author self-insert character is giving a elevator pitch to an anthropomorphic elevator. So I kind of see like in the first thing, I guess you kind of realized, oh, I didn't really do an anthropomorphic elevator. And like the first two iterations of it, looks like you did like I like kind of like this shot here, right here. Um, I really actually do like this shot there, and it looks like you tried to use a version of it with the camera pulled back further here, which I think was a good move. Let's see here. And there's another version of it. So let's see here. So this is the final version of the assignment. I don't think the premise is set up as well as it could be, but I think that some of this is heading in the right direction. So let's take a look at this real quick. Bring this into Clip Studio. So it is interesting to see like how the decision making you met. Like it's not quite where I would want it to be just yet, but I'm really interested in seeing how your thought process went. It's very clear that you are building on the idea, which is exactly what we wanted to get out of people doing multiple versions of the assignment. So let's see here. Maybe not that big. Let's keep it like this. Let's make sure I save this. Alrighty, so let's think of a few different ways we can make this we can improve the story here. I'm going to do a combination of maybe a few drawovers and some notes. One of the ways I think that we could improve this is we could make the drawing in this panel a little clearer for the posing and stuff. Like the way you drew this character design, the way you've drawn him in this panel is a little bit overly complicated. There's a little bit too much detail going on with him, so we're just going to keep at least this like thumbnail drawing really simple. And we're going to maybe try to problem solve about how to kind of keep a similar spirit to your composition while making what's happening a little clearer. So, the other thing that I suggest, this panel gets moved here. this panel, it's moved here. So the other thing is, let's see, with that in mind, maybe we can have a better setup panel here, but we'll come to that. But do you see how that reads now? Like, now we get a setup with the anthropomorphic elevator and the elevator. But please, Mr. Elevator, please reach my pitch. So I'm thinking maybe we could do something like, we have another panel similar to the next one of the elevator opening. Like, when the elevator door is closed. Like right here. Oh, the other thing I wanted to make a note of, please include a perspective grid. So that means like a floor and a ceiling grid in all of your panels. Even if this is like a freehand one like this stuff. Just like something to make a little kind of a note about the perspective in the shot. Something like that. Like, it doesn't have to be overly complicated. So let's see here. Blank that in there because the elevator is closed. So we only have a limited number of panels to do this assignment in. So if I had more panels, I would like add more setup to the guy who's pitching to the elevator. But since we only got 4 panels, this is what we're gonna go with. We might have like the in this panel we might have the guy kind of like hunched over a bit, and then he reacts to the elevator opening or something. These storyboards are a little bit more like beat boards, kind of. There would be more action breakdown for like a real full storyboard than what we're doing. And the other thing is that this guy, from how this guy's ears are, it looks like he's looking this way. So this guy, we definitely need to make it really evident that he's looking there. Same thing here. Like he could either be like looking at the script and then he looks up at the elevator. Here, for example. This last panel, I'm not too sure about. I like the idea of him reacting to the elevator. But the panel's a little kind of unclear what's well, I mean, I know what's happening, but I don't think it works too well. I'm thinking maybe something along these lines. Like we just use the composition of the first 3 panels again, just fine. I had people do contrasting panels and stuff because I wanted people to get loosened up. This critique that I'm giving right now is just like, okay, well, using kind of what you got, I'm gonna riff together a story that makes a little bit more sense. So then it's okay to kind of get into panel reuse like this. So what we might do is we might actually make this actually, I've got a better idea here. Potentially, like, this could be, you could do this all in one panel. Actually, no, I got a better idea. So, I'm thinking of the idea of like the POV from being inside the elevator and then the doors closed from that POV or something. So that's one potential idea. But let's see how this looks without changing too much of the composition. Or actually, you know what? Instead of that, let's try this. So we have him down like on his hands and knees basically here as the elevator door is closed. Something like that. So then like the idea that I'm going for right here is like we start with a panel like this of him kind of like ruffling with the script and stuff, and then like it goes over to here with the ding and the elevator doors open. He's like looking at the elevator. It's like, please, Mr. Elevator, read my script. Actually, no. For this composition, we can probably do a POV inside the elevator right here. Please, Mr. Elevator, read my script. Of course, it wouldn't be like exact center. It couldn't be exact center frame. Something like it's over there, something like that. But you can play with the composition. But you see what I'm talking about? Or like the camera is like, so like the camera is like, so we get the wall here with the elevator there, dude standing there. Camera in this first shot is kind of doing this right here. Camera in the next shot, or no, actually no. Camera in like the next time the scene changes would be like potentially inside the elevator right here, either aiming back out here. And we use a little bit of cinematic magic to kind of reposition the guy or something, however we need. Like the camera could be potentially like here, maybe like maybe it's like an upshot angle, like something like please, Mr. Elevator. Please, Mr. Elevator. Although I do like seeing like the elevator reacting with that big face and stuff. I kind of feel like we might want to see more of that elevator's face, but so maybe potentially there could be a shot of him reaching into the elevator to show it the script or something. But yeah, you see kind of where you see kind of the possibilities to play with for this right now. I'm going to leave this kind of open-ended for you, for just what you decide you want to do with it. So just keep playing with my assignment for you and then for everyone else I give demos for. Take whatever I've given the demo feedback on and like use it as something to play with and riff on to try a few different new versions of the assignment. And here's the other thing I'm going to do for you. You can add more action panels now. So that means this counts as a single shot, one shot. This counts as a single shot right here. And you can maybe have multiple versions of this where like he's It's like, Then like in the next, and like one of the other ones, he's like tugging at the collar of his shirt, like, eh. Um, you can have like multiple shots with the elevator, or multiple facial expressions of the elevator. Like maybe he like really slides his eyes over slowly. Or something. Also, the other thing about the elevator is I kind of like the idea of the elevator kind of being the back wall of the elevator. So you want to maybe signify that with some perspective grid to show how that character works a bit. Anyway, those are some possibilities to play with. This is just like a starting point stuff to mess with this further. As for your actual pitch, let's take a look at this. It's about a cute old couple in their 70th that are robbing a bank to pay for a trip to California to get on their favorite TV show. Okay. Let's see. Let me think about that. I mean, I don't have any objections to that pitch. Sounds pretty good. I mean, it's clear and concise what that is. I don't have any confusion about what it is. But I would maybe add in what genre it is. Is it an action thing? Is it a comedy thing? Is it an action comedy thing? Is it a crime? Is it a parody of action crime comedy? What is it? So it's a then add in then insert insert the genre that it is. Genre. Insert genre here. It's a good description. I mean, I understand what the story is, and it sounds like there's some cool possibilities to it. So I don't have any objections to your pitch. So you get approval from Mr. Elevator likes your pitch. So feel free to change the story to reflect that. A lot of people, almost everyone here is going to be doing something with Mr. Elevator rejecting their pitch, I think. Because people everyone has low self-esteem about what their ideas are. But I'm here to say that this is a pitch that Mr. Elevator might be, tell me more. So you might want to alter your story to reflect that. So let's see here. Yeah, that's some notes for you. I'll upload these later. Normally I upload these to like my Patreon and stuff because these are homework notes, I'm just gonna upload these like regularly to the Discord. Actually, I'll be putting them on my Patreon, but I'm gonna make the Patreon post publicly available to everyone when I upload these. So cool. That's the first notes. Let's take a look at the next person's assignment. That was a good job. Good job, by the way. I really like that you did multiple versions and you tried different things. And mind you, storyboarding and animation, of course, are an iterative process. It takes many different passes before you get something right. And as you get more fluent as a storyboard artist, you get quicker about grabbing the ideas that work and throwing out the ideas that don't work and stuff. You just get more rapid about using it, about doing that. That's what I'm going to be trying to cultivate for all of us here. So let's see here. Elevator pitch, working title, 13 ways to die. Okay, so you wrote the elevator pitch. Let's Indubitable Grim Reaper effortlessly takes out the competition while struggling to make his death quota. Same thing, I would also maybe include a note about the genre, but I think that the pitch itself is just fine. And I've of course have seen your film that you've been working on for that, which is coming out pretty nicely. Let's see here. So we got 4 different versions of the thing. These ones are a little bit more crude. right here. But I do like you playing with the different perspective angles and stuff and composition. These are pretty crude, but let's take a look and see if we can doctor any of this to get some ideas. And the cool thing about the fact that you guys have done multiple versions of this, I did want you guys to submit your best one, but in hindsight, maybe I should have made a special note about I want you to submit everything you've done, because then we can grab some of the other thumbnails and reorganize them and see how like some of the compositions you've done previously might actually work, put into a new context. So slower opacity on that. It's a little hard to read your text here. I'd maybe just use like type text for these. I can kind of read them, but it's a little hard to go through the board quickly when I have to kind of fight how hard it is to read some of the text. So happy I caught you. Heavy breath. Listen to my pitch. So he likes the pitch. That's cool. These thumbnails are a little bit cramped, which is okay for, I mean, I guess for a thumbnail, but I think we can punch them up a bit to kind of work out their composition a little bit better. Like, for example, on this panel here, define the ground plane a little bit better. I would want to maybe even do another pass at these thumbnails where you kind of work out the composition a little bit more cleanly. Like if you've just been using the thumbnails to kind of iteratively sketch, then you can go through again and like confidently punch them up a little bit. They're still thumbnails, but they're just clear. They should be clearer to read. So I'm really playing up like the smarmy Hollywood producer look on his expression. This kind of hand up, like I don't know what that. So this kind of hand up expression, this is like one of those you want to try to avoid like generic poses that don't mean anything in your storyboards. I'm guilty of this too, by the way. The hand up expression that doesn't mean anything is one of the more common ones. Like you want to have a reason why somebody's gesticulating the way they are. So like think about how the character would be postured when they're saying certain things and stuff. Just giving some examples of like different kinds of postures. This one's a little bit kind of a twinning pose right here though, so maybe wouldn't use that one. Try to be more decisive and deliberate about your posing and your acting choices. Like for example, oh, you just clasp his head. Oh, go, oh boy, oh boy. And then of course this sleazy Hollywood producer. They're kind of oblivious to how sleazy this guy is. This is what I'm trying to play with right here. I'm just kind of riffing on your idea a bit. Yeah. Not sure. This looks like it was supposed to be a wastebasket. Why is it that high on the frame? I don't know. I'm just going to blank that in. Just for composition's sake. Like some kind of foreground thing. Oh, thank you. Like the back of their head. They're kind of cheated pseudo 3/4 profile, I would say. Yeah, let's maybe punch some of these up a bit. This is the board that reads to me the best of these. There's some ideas for half-minute shots here, but we'll go with this one, because this one seems to give me the best cues to work with. So the character's kind of bumping the top of the frame. You remember you want to use the rule of thirds to divide up your frame, to kind of like use as a generic guideline for like where you would place the character. They can either like be placed like right there, or like right around it, or like in one of these, or something like that. The rule of thirds, mind you, it's not a hard fast rule. It's a way to kind of give you something to kind of anchor your scenes. You don't have to strictly follow it, but it's a compositional thing. It's a compositional tool that will help you make for clearer storyboards, clearer storytelling. It looks like you were trying to go for like an extreme low angle perspective here. So we'll get a little bit of a thumbnail of that going. And one of the important things about a extreme low angle perspective is a sky grid, because we are going to totally see that from a low angle. So get that potted plant in the foreground, and I'll probably darken that in because that's like a foreground element. It's sort of blocking the composition a bit. So we'll just blank that in. And on that note, maybe this thing over here. Let's see more of the top of the ellipse of the wastebasket, kind of. This is just like freehand perspective, mind you, so it doesn't have to be perfect. You work out like more literal perspective and more worked up versions of these boards. So these are just thumbnails. Let's see here. Yeah, it looks like you're really trying to use that wastebasket a lot, but it winds up jumping around the frame. Like it's behind the guy here, it's in front of the guy here. So what can help with that is if you do a scene, if you want to place items in your scene, is if you do a scene map, like, okay, here's the hallway where the guy's running down. Where's the camera going to be placed for some of these shots and stuff? You got the elevator here. Hallway where the guy's coming down here. Where's the wastebasket? The wastebasket, according to this shot, the wastebasket is like somewhere further over here, like almost in the middle of the hallway. Potted plants down over here. So I'm not going to solve every issue for you, but that's like kind of stuff you want to pay attention to when you like redo the panels for this. As for the other person, I'm giving you also permission to add in additional action panels and additional shots. Don't make it, you can add in, I'm giving you everyone permission to add in additional shots to these to make more of a complete story. These 4 panels, thumbnails, was meant as a starting point with kind of a limited thing, so people didn't add in more panels to make it overly complicated. But what I'm going to have you guys do is make your own directorial decisions to whether you add in new shots, and I want you to add in additional shots that show individual actions. Like for example, on this right here, let's say the elevator changes expression. A few times or something like that. Or if there's any actions happening in a panel, make a note about it. And mind you, individual actions happen one at a time. So that means like if the elevator says something and the guy's like right here. Okay, so like in these two panels, that guy is the same, but in this panel and this panel, the elevator changes expression. The elevator is still holding the expression here. When the elevator finishes what he's saying and closes his yap, the guy's still standing there. Oh, thank you. And now that this character's turn to speak, then you see the action. So let me make notes of that. So action on the elevator, action on the elevator, action on the elevator, action on the elevator. And then the elevator gets held, or same as elevator. Like nothing really changed. Supposing action on the dude. And you'll often see in boards, like when a character, sometimes they will copy paste the character. They'll usually make a note like same as and stuff. SA equals same as. So the reason why you do this is because it gives the animatic editor enough frames to kind of differentiate what's going on when they're timing out the shots in the animatic. And also because this is animation that we're doing here. So that means we have to time out each individual action, especially like for TV boards. So that means when an action is happening, there needs to be space for the action to happen in the board. So keep that in mind. You want to like step one is you decide on your shot and what's happening in the shot. And step two is to start breaking down the action of what happens in the shot into the I guess step three would probably be polish or whatever, or like maybe step four could be like animatic timing when it goes to being an animatic. But yeah, like so that's what I'm gonna say. Floor plan and use the floor plan, Luke. It's Baby Yoda. Or Grogu, or whatever his name is. I don't know, here's a shitty Mandalorian. Who are you talking to? Who are you talking to? Use the floor plan, Luke. So use a floor plan to figure out where your shot angles are from, so you can avoid stuff like that teleporting trash can. Sometimes you can cheat stuff like that between shots, but something like that would really kind of stand out in continuity. I think it kind of works with these two panels here, but like here it's really evident that thing is like way back against the wall in that panel, for example. So I would rethink how some of these are laid out a bit. Yeah, because also some other things of perspective, like because we're kind of in an up angle here, we would definitely see like at the top of that ellipse of that pot, for example. Anyway, so I'm gonna leave it to you to decide what to do with this next. Start being more clear about your panels, and clear and decisive about your panels, and clear, clean, and decisive, and use a floor plan to plan out your shots, your shot angles and stuff. And you are allowed to, and like I said, you are allowed to add in additional shots to this at your own discretion if you feel you need it for the storytelling. And I want people this week to do action breakdown like this. Oh, and try to have posing with purpose. If a character is saying something, if they have to be taking on a posture that means something for what they're trying to do or say. Like don't use generic posing if you can help it. Try to like figure out how the character would be acting for the particular line they're saying. Anyway, so that's number 2. Let's take a look at some other people's work now. Cool. And maybe see if I can get through. I might be able to get through everyone's. Some of these are going to be like a repeat of some of the notes I gave earlier too. And of course, like people are welcome to use like some of the notes I gave other people as tips or jumping off points for things that they're gonna do on theirs. So I like that you tried to put in a floor grid, but I don't think it's quite working too well yet. Because like this feels really flat. This doesn't feel like you're using the it doesn't like feel like you're using the 3D space for the character. So when you make these floor grids, you want to like you're doing them free. You should be doing them freehand for a thumbnail. You'd plan them out a little better usually when you're doing your actual boards, but like generally you kind of want to like pretend that there's a vanishing point up over there that those lines are going to, and there's a vanishing point that those are going up towards. I think this would be like a 2-point downshot perspective, although yeah, this would be like a 2-point downshot or something. I don't think there'd be enough information to include a 3-point in here. But basically like this character, you need to kind of like get a sense that you're looking at like the top of their shoulders a little bit. And their head is tilted up towards us. So keep that in mind. Their head is tilted up towards us from the shoulders. So we need to see more of the top of the shoulders, and we need to get a sense that their body is being looked down on from above, because like the camera, the position of the camera is like kind of like up here a bit. And like you can do, I would suggest even doing little thumbnail doodles like this, of like if you need to work out a camera problem or something. Okay, so aside from that, the other thing is that this facial expression doesn't really tell me anything about what the character is thinking or feeling. So I'm going to kind of improvise a little example of like, how do I keep going? I keep going even though I'm completely burned out. Like kind of pleading, like sort of, you maybe even add in like some you can even maybe add in some arm action of some kind. That they're kind of throwing up their arms in like exasperation a little bit, you know. So this composition is a little cramped. I would say that I do like the idea. I do like the basic funny idea of like this character kind of being jammed down at the bottom of the panel a little bit. Hmm. And I do like it. I do like the idea of like the gag being kind of deadpan, or the punchline being kind of deadpan. So another thing you could probably play with if you want to play something like goofy and cartoony is like if they are jammed at the bottom of the panel, like play with that, make it part of the gag, like.
Well, yeah, it's supposed to be me, but like, I'm really short, so that's why it's.
Okay.
So I like over exaggerated that.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of playing with this a bit to sort of like I feel like I feel like there's some of the humor you could play with some of the kind of the goofy humor of like Bee and Puppy Cat a little bit, if you ever seen that series. The other thing is that the framing on this is a little bit awkward on the elevator, but so maybe we can beef up the size of the elevator panel a bit. I do like the idea of the character like just being like ridiculously short and the framing kind of, but then we just make it extra goofy. I think this character has glasses, right? Or no, that's just an eye line. No, those are glasses.
No, yeah, they're cheap glasses.
I'm thinking of like there's like a Japanese newspaper cartoon sort of feel to the character that you could maybe go for this panel at least, or maybe some of the other panels. I don't know. Something to play with. But I'm like thinking of stuff like Azumanga Daioh and things like that, or there's like some Japanese salaryman or panel strips that are kind of in the vein that I'm thinking of. So the character's kind of standing a little plainly right here. Since they are short, you can maybe emphasize that a little bit more even in the first panel. Like just how tiny, how itty bitty they are. So you can play that up even more. Maybe make this first shot a 3-point. Not too sure about the initial composition though. And I don't think there's enough setup for this gag. I don't have a pitch right now, but how do I keep going even though I'm completely burned out? Get hobby. Alright, fine. I'll let you get away with this, but you need a pitch. Come up with something. I mean, just see if you have an idea for. Doesn't matter how big or small it is. Just something to work with, because then that'll give me an ability to give critique and feedback on it. So, yeah, again, like it looks like you were trying to make. Again, you want to make it really clear that where the character's eye direction is and stuff, and where the character's head is tilting. Let's see here. Putting some floor grids down here.
The only thing I have is just
in this case,
mailman thing.
Yeah, in this case, because this is a really close interior, it might be a good idea to do wall grids. also for this particular panel. The other thing is that since we are doing action stuff, it might be a good idea to do a camera move here, like something like where it pulls inwards from here. Something along those lines. But this is how you note camera moves, by the way. That sort of thing. So this doesn't really tell me anything about the about what the elevator dude is thinking and feeling, but I'm just gonna add a little. I'm gonna add a little bit of my emotion in finding out that you didn't have a pitch. Oh, so this is me self-inserting myself right now. Oh, you didn't have a pitch. I mean, just come up with something. If you have ever had any fun idea for something that you want to do, and again, this is not a pressure thing. Like, I'm not going to beat you up next week, even if you don't have a pitch for next week. So you just take this stuff at your own pace. But like, if you have any kind of idea for like any kind of short film or story or comic or something or game, come up with a pitch.
That's something I've been struggling with lately. So like,
Well,
the only thing that
write down your ideas, and then you can start playing with them.
Yeah, the like right now that mailman thing is like the only thing I have.
So this is a kind of a tricky panel right here because you can't. It's a little hard to put the perspective grid in here. But usually for something like this, they kind of like put a little quick thing in or something somewhere. Even though the background kind of covers up the perspective grid. It really depends though. Anyway, so there's that. Let's move on to the next person. I mean, a lot of people here are total newcomers at this sort of thing, so I'm not going to beat anyone up for the fact that you even did the assignment is good, no matter what. So no one's being graded. Everyone's just taking this at their own pace, and it's okay if you don't get to every parameter of the assignment. So I really like this. This person actually signed and dated the assignment and put the Spacedad class of 20XX right there. So check this out. They did a camera move here, which is really nice. They put a floor grid, which is actually going towards a vanishing point. So like the more that you are able to get away with putting into these, the more I have to work with. For as far as if you make things clear, then that gives me more space to kind of punch up your boards. And in this case, I think we can punch up the posing a bit. So let's run through the pitch of this real quick. Boy, do I have a pitch for you, Mr. E. Oh, come closer, kid. After refusing a job offer from the Queen of Hell, 2 magic students are forced into a battle against their arch nemesis. Sounds good, kid. Good luck pitching it to a real person, though. Abrupt cut, sounds of pain. Who are these characters around the character here? I know it's an abrupt cut, but what's happening in this last panel?
Oh yeah, that's supposed to it's supposed to be just sort of them in the actual elevator, just going up.
Oh, okay. Well, here I've got a scene for you to borrow an idea from. Let's see here. There's a scene in then Twin Peaks: The Return. Hopefully I don't get Hopefully I don't get boinked for this, but let's see here. Yeah. So I'm not gonna play this, but I'll show like stills from it. But it's this kind of really awkward scene here. There's in an elevator, and then there's this bit. There's like the for those people who haven't seen it, Twin Peaks: The Return. Like Agent Dale Cooper gets pulled like through some extra dimensional stuff, and when he comes back to the real world, he's kind of a silent film character amnesiac. And so there's a lot of like really funny stuff of him doing things like this. There's a few different characters that he's kind of a mix of like Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, and like Monsieur Hulot from the Hulot films and stuff, or even a little bit of like Mr. Bean and stuff. And it's really good. I do recommend the Twin Peaks: The Return. But yeah, hopefully I don't get boinked for showing these images. Um, but yeah, like this scene right here, I mean, you could steal this. You could steal a composition like this for this shot. Like, let's make him really, really small in the frame. Really, really crammed. With like lots of characters. And you make it really evident where he is. He's in the elevator. And we know he's in the elevator because we can see like the elevator panel on the side or whatever. We could in the shot with Dale with from Twin Peaks. Like you don't have to use the exact composition that they did, but making your character like really diminutive in the panel, surrounded by other characters that some of them are maybe taller than him, might help with that. Then have him like really kind of nervous. Maybe he's clutching the You can maybe make them all look like Hollywood producer types too. Like every one of them is like a different anthropomorphic animal caricature of like a sleazy Hollywood producer or something. Or a Hollywood hotshot. Like the character's an intern at a production company or something. Let's maybe show his legs, even though this is a crammed elevator. Although you could cover him up with like some people or like some shoulders or something in the front. Something like that. So I'm pushing his pose a little bit. And maybe he's a dog, so he's gonna wag his tail. Like that. And if you do more action panels, you can do more stuff with him. You can do more antics with him, like maybe he kneels to present the script. Like my liege. Or he tries to act like a cajoling sort of like big shot, like, hey, here's my script, or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, like here he is, like before he makes it to the elevator, instead of like walking back like that, he could be doing like he's coming there with purpose. He's purpose and drive, like setting his best foot forward. I'll leave it to you to kind of play with the poses some more, but these are just some ideas. You might want to adjust the, since I have his eyes up there, probably want to adjust the eye level. Of Mr. Elevator. It's not a big deal. I'll just make his character design so he's a little bit more like that. You could probably frame it a little bit better so we get more of the top of the elevator a bit. So these are fine. These are basically the same shot with the same action stuff. And I'm okay. It's okay with some people doing that for the first pass on this. Yeah. This also means that you can potentially do an establishing shot for this before you even get to this. Like maybe you do like a setup for this with like the pup like kind of you see like a script writing, text going on the screen. It's like typing on the keyboard there. These thumbnails, by the way, this is like stuff you can do in like margins of things to make notes for yourself. Like you would take stuff like this and then you would do like more kind of clearer stuff that communicates the idea to other people. This kind of thumbnailing is margin notes for yourself. I'm describing what they are so you can kind of see where my thought process is going with these kind of like super quick notes. There might be like a close-up of his paws, typing on the keyboard, and then show like you could show the printer printing it out or something like that, and then yoink, like his paw swipes, grabs the script on the top of the printer, and then at last, my script. And then you can do you do more of a setup to Mr. Elevator. You can do like, now I can do my elevator pitch. Now I can do my elevator pitch. He's got his paw right here in the foreground, clenched in a fist, like shaking, like yes, 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 yes. And then we cut to an actual elevator. Anthropomorphic elevator. And it's like, And then zoom over to the side there. And like a big old zoom pan with a blur and stuff. It's like this big long hallway. And there's a little pup standing at the end of the hallway right there. It's like, I got this. Or you can either go, I got this, or like he can be like doing breathing exercises, like, whew, whew. Okay, let's go. Or he goes like, okay, let's go. But you see, like when you're thinking through story ideas like this, you don't encumber yourself with worrying about whether you're making good rad drawings. You're just trying to get the idea down in quick shorthand notes. And you do this a lot if you're doing like script readings, for example. We go through a script, and then you go into the margins and you doodle out panels like this. And this is not what you would like present as your actual boards. Although if you're like collaborating with somebody in the same room, you can describe what's going on. Basically what we're doing right now, more or less. But when you present the boards and stuff, you do them a little bit more like this, kind of. or they're maybe even cleaner than this. But yeah, let's do this. Do this, or I got this. I got this. I got this. Yeah, this. I'm just kind of running with an idea right now to show you how much more elaborate you could potentially get with these. And then you see like a close-up of his paws, walking across his foot paws, walking across the floor and stuff. I got this, and then he goes off screen, walks off screen. And then we get to this. Maybe even like it could pan up and pull back to reveal him or something. Or like it shows his feet, and then it shows him like taking his confident stride in the upper body, and it cuts to a medium shot, upper body, and then it cuts to this kind of wide shot, the wide shot with the camera following him over the elevator. Anyway, so, and there's more that can be done here, like you can do more stuff with him kind of in the foreground and stuff. You don't have to have him doing much in here. Like the antics and attention can all be on Mr. Elevator's facial expressions, and that gives you an opportunity to kind of play with like his face and stuff. It's however you want. Because the attention is all on Mr. Elevator. You don't have to have the pup doing much. That's good, kid. And then you can cut to, oh, yay. What, you mean it? You like it? Yeah. Mr. Ever says, yeah. Good luck pitching it to a real person, though. Huh? Whoops, then he goes, good luck pitching to a real person, though, and he goes, and the pup goes, huh? What? And then he goes, what? And then it cuts to, and then it just like does an abrupt cut to this. Anyway, yeah, that's so that's what you can get when your starting point is pretty clear. Like I have enough space to work with in that to kind of roll with an idea, because I didn't have to. There wasn't a huge amount I had to like solve at the start. It was just a matter of like punching up the basic idea. So this is an example of like this kind of thumbnailing I did right here. You can use this to think quickly. You think like you do these like you can unspool what happens in the film in your head in real time. Oh, it'd feel pretty good if I went to a close up. If I he's like typing text to the computer. We showed the text and it was like a screenplay script and stuff. Show like a close up of his paws, like tack 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 tack, tack 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 tack. You can even add in more cuts of like he's licking his lips or something like that, or whatever else feels good there. Show it printing out on the printer, or maybe even a close up of like we see his paw tap the print button or something, or move the mouse over to print or something. And gets printed out, swipes it up after the script, and so on. All pan, all blur, pan. But yeah, this kind of like shorthand note method right here. This is what you use for yourself when you're doing iterations on an idea. You can use it as a tool to help you kind of create your stories. Like it not being encumbered by whether a drawing is good or bad, and just like running through quick doodly notes that you can then take up and punch up, and like these are like easy to throw out and like slot different things in, or decide to use this or that and stuff. You can kind of start to visualize how the film would play in your head a bit using this method. And again, because you're not worried about whether you make good or you're not more worried about making good or bad drawings. You're worried about getting the idea out in a way that is clear for you. And then you can punch up the idea into clearer thumbnails, larger thumbnails, and then you turn those into storyboard panels. So yeah, that's the next step on that for you. I would say if you are able to, maybe run with the idea that I just gave you and see what you can do with it, because I want to see what you can do with playing with it. I want you to try playing with pushing the expressions and the expressions of Mr. Elevator and the body language of the pup, and maybe his body poses and stuff. For tone for this, I'm thinking like kind of like Animaniacs-ish sort of from what I'm seeing here. So maybe look at some of the more recent or classic Animaniacs stuff for that matter if you want. But yeah, good job. Good job on the homework. And we'll move on to the next person. So we got through 4 of these so far. What time is it? Wow, we've been at this for about an hour and a half. Yeah, let's see here. Let's see how many more of these we have to do. I'd love to get through all of them I can, because I'm getting a lot of energy from these. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's see. I would want to get through all these. This one, let's see. There's this one, this one. So this one, I really appreciate how you divide up the rule sort. So I think I do want to maybe dip into this one. I'm not going to maybe go as in-depth as I did on the other ones as I did on that last one. But that last one, I want people, like I said, like the notes that I'm giving on these, I want other people to take cues from them to for ideas for how they could elaborate on their boards. Like using this thumbnailing note method to elaborate on the boards and add additional shots and animation and stuff. And like stuff like clearer posing, camera moves, purposefree posing using the floor grid, and like keeping in mind the angle of the camera and stuff. Timing out individual actions once you have like the shot established on the individual panels like that, and using the same as for like elements that don't move between panels. Using a floor plan. Let's see here. Stuff like you can reorganize certain panels to make them read and say certain things. You can add marks. Yeah, this is some of the reiteration of some of the other things I was talking about. Okay, it's cool. So let's get to the next person. I want to see if I get. I'm gonna import everyone in here and just see what I can do, and we'll have to do like the lightning round of notes on these, I think. Let's just get all of them in here and like line them all up. And I'll see like if there's. I'm gonna try to like give everyone here a little bit of something. So apologies if I don't get as elaborate with my notes for you as I did for some of the other people, because I don't want to keep everyone here forever. But we're gonna go through these lovely boards, and I'm gonna try to give you guys enough to work with to have something to elaborate on for the next week. And I really appreciate how many of you guys did get to do the storyboards and submit them. We've got actually more submissions than I thought we would have, which is excellent. I'm really looking forward to seeing where this goes next. Here, I'll shrink that. All right, so I'm going to make some general overview notes on here, everyone. So I'll make some overview notes on this of where to go next for all of these. And like all the other stuff that I was talking about for the previous demos applies to these boards too. Like take into consideration the stuff that I said for those. So this is basically like this is somebody essentially doing like what I was talking about, the thumbnail method, but then they're presenting this as a board. So I would say do another iteration on this assignment. You can add a few more panels to it if you need to, but try to think it out more. Like first off, you need the 16:9 aspect ratio. If you don't know what that is, just look it up. It's 16:9 is like 1920 by 1080p resolution. You don't have to draw at that resolution, but you want to like make panels that have the like roughly the ratio of it. Also, it doesn't have to be perfectly 16:9. It just has to be close to it so that you have kind of like a HD widescreen format. So first thing about this panel, this character is really centered in this panel right here. If we were to divide this up into rule of thirds, right here, this character would be like somewhere here in the middle, which is fine if there's a reason for it. But I would suggest maybe playing with the idea of seeing how you can position the character for the storytelling to work a little better. Like, are they going to be over like here? Are they going to be here? Are they going to be here? Once you have like the rule of thirds grid map, you can kind of play with what works for what you're trying to say. Like maybe offset her slightly from the center or something. Something like that. Also, the other thing is there's not really any sense of like where the ground or sky plane is in this panel. And even if you like there's no ground or sky present in something, if it's a white void background, you do kind of want to make a note of where the ground or sky plane is. So I'm gonna guesstimate that the ground or sky plane is kind of at an even point in this. So I'm just gonna like make some quick notes there. Something like that. It's not a big deal though. So moving on, same issue as like the rule of thirds thing, but we'll use the rule of thirds to kind of draw over this a bit to sort of show how we can potentially lay out the composition here. So this is a little quickie shorthand grid. So Mr. Elevator could potentially, he could be occupying like this space over here, or he could be occupying like this space here, something like that. Since he does take up a lot of space here, and we maybe want to differentiate how big he is versus how small this character is, let's maybe have our main character like about here. And they could be even potentially even smaller than that. And Mr. Elevator can be like here. This is a very flat composition though, is the other issue. Like, I don't think there's enough of the setup for what's for this character, for like Mr. Elevator appearing in here. So you might want to think about how you set up the characters appearing a little bit more. Some ideas for that include you maybe include some kind of establishing shot to at least like show the layout of the room that they're in before like the story starts. And you can maybe show that before this panel or something. Mind you, you have more freedom this week to add and subtract panels from your thing. So for this one right here, this is definitely an upshot, and I do like that you did include a sky grid behind there. Sky grid. I mean, this is a thumbnail kind of fake sky grid, but just beware when you're doing grids. You kind of want to pretend that there's a vanishing point off in the distance that you're drawing towards. So always keep that in mind whenever you're doing grids. even when you're doing them freehand. There's going to be certain times when you actually do need to physically plot out a vanishing point for stuff, like when you're really planning stuff out for like a really serious in-depth board. But when you're just doing like freehand thumbnail boards, it's totally fine. The other thing about this is because this is an upshot, we're going to have like part of the character's body maybe, or we're going to see more of the character's equivalent of like a chin for whatever the character design is in this panel. So you definitely want to use kind of like some dimensionality on the character's body a little bit to sort of wrap around the character to sort of work out like what their limbs are actually doing and what their limbs and their body is actually doing in 3D space. I'm going to include some hands here because let's see, get the rule of thirds going here. So this is I'm fine with this composition being centered and stuff, but I'm just like throwing a rule of thirds draw over here. Show you how you can check to see what the composition is of what you're doing, and maybe it spark some other ideas of how you can repose or reposition the character, something. You want to think of every single one of these little panels as like either a mini composition, or you can think of these little grids as like these little grid intersections as like target points. Like you can play with the rule. The rule of thirds thing is really just something to kind of like play with to see how you can measure and counterbalance certain elements of a shot. So so you can think things through more. Like there's not really any super hard rules on that, although there is stuff that there are compositional tricks that work great that you will see cinematographers use an awful lot with it. Yeah, so we'll get another rule of thirds thing over here. This character's pretty dejected here. We'll just really emphasize how dejected they are, like lean their body over and stuff. Maybe like their arms are down like that. Is Mr. Elevator being empathic towards her? It's like, oh, I'm sorry. Oh. And this would be an opportunity for like, for example, if you're elaborating more into this, would be something like your character's like here, Mr. Elevator's kind of like thinking and stuff, like, it's kind of considering the words of what your character said, and he says like, will you be able to though? My skin. Will you be able to though? And then they, oh. Something like that. Anyway, yeah, so moving on. Stomp, stomp, stomp. Me, inner dialogue. He's only a child. Human lost in the wrong dimension. No one to shield him from the overlord's reach but a common criminal. But a common criminal. Oh, divine lift, you're the only hope. This is really going way outside the parameters of this. I mean, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, like, the goal here is to make fun stuff. So if you have an idea for something that you want to chase, it's fun for you outside the parameters of the assignment, I'll allow it. So it looks like, first off, I'm not sure this panel works too well, but these two right here could potentially work if the ideas, if like the perspective and the drawing them were worked out better. This one might be able to work, but there's like some really unclear stuff going on here. So let's see here. Let's work with what we can. What is the furthest along here? First off, the first thing I would do is I would really work out the perspective grid in this. This one is one where you might actually want to plot a vanishing point for, and it looks like it's going to be 3-point perspective. So it's going to be like way out over here for the z axis point, and then like you're going to have a vanishing point way up over there, and you're going to have, let's see, that's going to influence how the lady is postured in the frame and stuff. So we're going to be seeing like some of the top of her shoulders. This is getting into tricky figure drawing, which I might not have the time to really get too terribly huge into, but you're going to see like the bottom of her cloak kind of pooling around down here. We're going to see more of the top of the baby's head a bit and stuff. We're going to get kind of like an overhead view of the top of her head right here. So you got a vanishing point going on over there. There's going to be another vanishing point going on over there, I think. So it's going to be, yeah. It's the same thing here, like you have to keep in mind like what the perspective is that you're using and commit to it, and work it out more. You can kind of use thumbnailing to sort of work out what the perspective problems are that you're going to need to work out more once you start getting the vanishing point. But this is going to be very challenging for you to do, especially this early on, because this involves quite a bit of perspective figure drawing. It's like this back here, this goes to a vanishing point. Back up over there somewhere, like way off screen somewhere. Floor grid there. It's actually, this is like so there's like, it's gonna be a vanishing point over there, there's gonna be a vanishing point over there, there's gonna be a vanishing point over there, and a vanishing point over there. So this is pretty extreme perspective here. For this one right here, you needed a sky grid. So this is an upshot. So I'm not too unhappy with this, with the positioning of the refrigerator, of the, excuse me, the Mr. Elevator, but you definitely need like an upshot on the body here of the lady. And it looks like she's supposed to be like pulling the child along by the arm here. The child is maybe looking up at Mr. Elevator. Just remember, when you're using perspective, you can use like simple primitive shapes and kind of work out the three-dimensionality of stuff before you really get into the heavier side of the figure drawing. You can use like you can potentially use like a box to sort of like block in about where this figure is going to appear in the compositional space it occupies, for example. Figures are hard to, and then it starts getting more into like figure drawing stuff, figure drawing and perspective stuff, which I need more practice in, quite frankly. So this panel right here, I'm not too sure what's happening here, but it looks like you're trying to go for some kind of like a stylized 2D thing, which is a bit jarring, considering how extreme the perspective is. I'm not saying it can't work, but you're going to have to find some better way to set it up a bit. I'd maybe elaborate on this idea more if you're going to do more iterations. Like, this kind of looks like an opportunity to do some kind of like Islamic mosaic art, kind of, sort of, where it's like really flat. Sort of like this kind of some of the stuff you see in Thief and the Cobbler at certain points. I can see like these little kind of clone soldiers and stuff. Then you can get really into like kind of making an interesting composition here. And that also gives you an opportunity to kind of play with the composition more. Maybe you can do something like the soldiers are over here, ladies over here, and you got this huge kind of flat space here that has like a pattern on it. So that's like an anti-perspective shot. And if you really wanted to play with it, then you could do like, you went from this extreme perspective angle, and this floor pattern right here, appears in this shot here, where it's like completely flattened out perspective with like no extreme perspective and stuff. Like it's done a complete tonal style shift between the two shots, but it's intentional because that's the style thing for fun. And you could do something like that, maybe. But yeah, those are just some ideas for you to play with. I want to see you define these a little better and maybe play with that idea of that abrupt cut of perspective and make some more antics for setting up this shot and stuff. But all I have for you is like think through the idea more based on some of the notes that I've given to make this more like a complete board. I might have people do this for a third week because we could make this into like real portfolio assignment stuff for people. Let's see here. What time is it? Oh, 4:30. Good. Let's maybe get I think we can get through the rest of these in like the next hour or so at the latest. So let's see here. Mr. Elevator, sir. Mr. Elevator, sir, please wait. I have a script due today, but I don't know if it's good enough. Elevator, well, go ahead, read it to me. Person one, okay, so the script is about a girl who lost her body with only the lead, with the only lead of the knife she possesses. She and the allies she makes search out to find her missing body. Ding, are we interrupting something? No, that's just Tim. He's weird. So I think the basic idea of the gag works. I think that where I would go from here is I would push the posing a bit, even for like the expressions of Mr. Elevator, like So he's looking at the dude and reacting to the dude, and the dude is like, let's give him a pose that makes him look, that has a purpose for why he's posed that way. Like, sir, Mr. Elevator, please wait, please wait. He's got the script in his hand. And I do like that you put an arrow to note the direction of the thing. That's another thing I want people to make notes about. You may notice in seeing a lot of storyboards, anytime there's an action, like for example, like see there's a character here, and then in the next panel he's got his hand up like that. Anytime something like that happens, make a note about the action. In this case, there's an actual arc there for how his hand comes up. His hand comes up like that. You can maybe even make a little note for how it comes up. Even stuff like the hand pops out and pumps, for example, and up. So make notes about the actions that happen. You don't always need to write a note, but you want stuff like, for example, when a character is moving through space in perspective, you usually want to have like an arrow kind of like this, which shows what direction they're moving in and stuff. When a character, so you also might see me doing these kind of little cartoon things, where like cartoon jitter effects. You don't actually want to do that for like real TV storyboards. That's like a shorthand note for myself. What you want to do is you want to have arrows to show where the motion is going for them. And a little note, waves. Another thing to do is action. Like action runs into frame, waves hand, for example. I want to make notes about the actions that happen in your frames. Anyway, so moving on with this guy, it's again, same thing, like clear posing with purpose, like eye direction here. The characters are meeting eye to eye. And you want like clearer posing about what clearer posing that tells something about the character's attitude and what they're doing. Like this this pose right here is a little kind of generic. Like I have a scripty today, but I don't know if it's good enough. Something like this, I don't know. He's holding up the script, like, I don't have the script today, I don't know if it's good enough. It says, and hand is kind of moving up there. I don't have the script today, but I don't know if it's good enough. And he can have like multiple actions, like he runs on the maybe runs onto the frame. Like, oof. Oof. Takes a breath. I have a script due today, but I don't know if it's good enough. I have a script due today. I have a script due today. Oof. Collects himself a little bit, holding the script. But I don't know if it's good enough. Also, the other thing, continuity, watch for continuity. You check out this thing that you did. He's holding that script in his left hand. Now he's holding the script in his right hand. Watch for continuity errors, folks. Sometimes you can get away with them, but beware though. Be on the lookout for those. Okay, and also I'm using this pose right here because this matches with his pose here where he's got like the script right there. And this lands with some of the other panels and stuff. This is an opportunity to play with the facial. You didn't do a mouth on Mr. Elevator, which is fine. But that also means you're going to have to put a huge amount of emphasis on his eyes for the acting, for sure. I think most people actually didn't put a mouth on Mr. Elevator. But that's fine. Also, I'm thinking like you've had the elevator fall asleep, but you can do something like like maybe he's like mid-sentence and then like he can be like it'd be funny if he was like mid-sentence giving some good advice, but then like gets cut off when the elevator doors open.
But that's a murder happening here.
Mm-hmm. But I do like the idea of these. I think these two characters having like really plain deadpan poses would be pretty funny. Like this guy can maybe turn towards the other one. No, that's just him. He's just a weirdo or something. That's just him. He's just a weirdo. And then we cut to him, and he's like, script, script, Mr. Elevator. He's just a crazy guy or something. He talks to elevators. Or maybe he's just like, or he's really dejected or something. I don't know. He's hallucinating and he thinks the elevator is real. Who knows? So let's see here. Next one. This will be one big mega post. So like I said, I really like how clear these are. These are not 16 by 9, which is okay for now. The perspective isn't perfect, but I'm not going to sue you for it. You didn't include a grid here, and that would have been helpful here, especially for showing the angle that the character's flying out the elevator at. And then that's when you want to use the 3D space. Because that's another thing I noticed. Like this, you're using grids, but the character doesn't really seem to be moving through 3D space now that I look more at it. So think more about how the character aligns on the 3D space. Mr. Elevator, however, kind of does, although like it's kind of like they're a floating face, but they're not really being influenced by the dimensionality of the elevator, dimensionality of the vanishing points from how you drew them. So just let it subtly kind of like play with how the characters are posed. Stuff like because of the vanishing point for the z-axis in this shot here, the character kind of appears to lean a little bit to the side because that's how the 3D illusion is making their body appear. And then that of course influences the face of your friend there. And another thing you can do with this is like, since you can draw like a flat facial expression, then you can warp it to fit your whatever grid you're putting it on. Like even like here, for example, like this would be an opportunity to do a wall grid right here. Still obeying the rules of like, I think this one would be like a 1-point perspective shot right here. Like there's just 1 point of perspective that this stuff is going towards in this shot. So it would influence like how much of the shoulders the top of the shoulders we'd see of your character there. Even if you're just doing like a bean body and stuff, you want to kind of like, okay, that means that this arm is down here. That means that this shoulder is right here and that shoulder is right there, for example. And you can let that kind of subtly influence the tilt of the head a bit, and so on. Maybe even use that as the top of the screen. They're holding it at a weird angle, but you can maybe use that to influence like how the tilt of the script page a bit too, and the positioning of the legs and so on. But yeah, same thing here. This one you definitely want to get like a good grid established for this shot on the wall grid. You would even use it on the elevator too. And remember, like this, your character's head is a sphere. So wrap those lines around their head.
I also definitely think that the head is too off of the scene.
The what?
The head is like too off
Yeah.
of the panel you're watching.
Well, another thing I want to point out is that the character seems to be changing size proportions an awful lot in this. These are multiple versions of the thing. The character's size proportions are quite a bit bigger here versus like some of the other versions where they're like their head in relation to the elevator is that. But then like if it was using like the proportions up here, the head would be like that, like a giant thing. So watch for character size proportion relationship. This is a little better. I think it's looking all on the large side, but just keep stuff like that in mind. Sometimes it's okay for proportions, especially more toony shows, to wander a bit, but keep stuff like that in mind. Maybe what might actually help is if you did like a quick kind of character and prop size relation sort of chart to like kind of show how big this character is versus the elevator, for example. And also, because you have like a lot of like 3D camera movement, camera positioning, I would definitely consider making a floor plan to kind of figure out where your camera is going to be positioned. the thing, another thing about your floor plan is like you like, this is a movie set basically, and you know, like real movie sets, they will often like take off walls of the movie set in order to position the camera in certain spots and stuff. So you can basically do that with this. Like, let's pop off this wall here, and now we can get like a camera kind of looking in there, for example. Kind of like that. With our two actors here, the elevator and the script reader. Let's take a look at what you actually did with your pitch here. Let's okay, with your third iteration. Ding, going down. Wait, Mr. Elevator. I want to run an idea by you. 3 young adults must learn to blend family work to safeguard their city. Go on. Tell me more. So this is actually kind of neat. I actually do like this. And I think you should. I think you could play up the pose like, oh yes. Oh. Oh. Somebody saying "Tell me more" is the best thing that a storyteller can hear. Like, I want to hear what happens next. Tell me more. Go on. You can play with the posing some more in this too. Also, like when you come back to this, I think that some of these panels that you have here can potentially be remixed. Another idea I might want to give you is maybe this character does more than one pitch with the elevator, where they fail the first time and then they come back the second or third time. Another is that like you can have this, and then you can cut to them. You can cut to like, you can start with this and stuff, and you get to this, and then it cuts to this. Because I really like the idea of them sitting inside the elevator, making pals with this anthropomorphic elevator stuff, giving them the pitch. You could potentially even remix some of the content used in this into thing too. Like when they initially get rejected, something, you can have a little thing of them going back to the drawing board, and then they go back here. However you want to mix it, you want to remix it, I'll leave it up to you. But like I said, don't necessarily try to overdo it this week, but play with it however you can, using the notes that I've given to make a more complete story. You and the other folks here. Okay, so this person right here, they look like someone who's pretty new to drawing. I would say that I would strongly recommend checking out the Drawbox website, which will help you with a lot of the perspective issues that I see you struggling with. But yeah, check out the Drawbox site, and definitely check out the lessons there and read through them and do the lessons and stuff, because it'll help you get more type effect panels. But I do like that you did use the 16:9 ratio, it looks like, from what I can see. I can tell what's going on in your panels. But yeah, like some simple tweaks using rules of perspective will help you. Like let's use 1 point perspective here. Like we're pretending that there's like a horizon line about at the eye line of your character right here, and that there's like a vanishing point. Let's maybe like make the vanishing point, because the elevator is the center of the tension in this shot. So we'll make the vanishing point Mr. Elevator. But this is like the kind of stuff that goes through my head when I'm thinking of perspective in freehand, even though I don't necessarily draw it out every time. So like there's like a vanishing point here inside of Mr. Elevator. And so we get like these lines that are creating this grid and the sky and floor grid for me to think about above and below. I'm doing this freehand, so this is like really rough and loose. If you're doing like really serious perspective, you're gonna want to use like measuring tools like a line tool and stuff. But so like the horizon line would be like a perfect parallel line and stuff. hold the shift key on, for example. So our little dude here, his head's about like going to be on the horizon line. Maybe push him, because we're using the rule of thirds. Let's maybe push him a little bit more to the left, I want to say. And his feet are gonna be planted about like here. They're influenced by the perspective grid, so his feet are gonna be planted like right there. I think that this is actually starting to turn a little bit more into a 2-point perspective, in which case, like his feet, there'd be another vanishing point over here. We'd see like this, basically. But now we like, this shoulder is up because his shoulders would without perspective would be parallel. But this shoulder is higher than this one because of the angle we're looking at him. We're looking down on his shoulders. And he's looking at Mr. Elevator, so I'll put his like ear over here so I can kind of visualize that. Mr. Elevator is a flat surface, so he's kind of looking like he's just going to be like looking over here at the dude or whatever. And of course you can like reposition and play with stuff. And also like you don't, if you do make perspective grid, sometimes you can erase parts of it to kind of reduce visual confusion. Yeah, that's a 2-point shot. It actually would have worked as a 1-point, but I kind of feel like where I placed him sort of worked better for that. This is an extreme kind of close-up shot, which you probably wouldn't really on a 2D flat character, so you probably wouldn't really need a perspective grid on. But this is an opportunity to really play with the facial expression. When you're doing facial expressions, try like getting a mirror, like a hand mirror of yourself, and like making the expressions yourself. Even when you don't have a mirror, it's a good idea to kind of make the facial expression that the character is taking on. Like you can let that influence like and get like a broader range of acting. Like you should become an actor when you are posing at your boards. And on that note, this character here, this thing right here, there's nothing about his pose that says anything about what he's doing or saying right now. So let's maybe like, I don't know, you do something as simple like you could do poses similar to some of the other ones I've been suggesting for other people's things, like, sir, could you please read my pitch, like this. And notice I'm like drawing like a really, really simple character, this kind of Starman sort of thing, which is a storyboard artist's. The Starman is the storyboard artist's shortcut tool for doing like quick, simple figures. There's different versions of the Starman, but like you can get like these really, really, really basic and simple poses with the Starman. Really, really quick. This is where that line of action and shape study stuff that we've been doing in my gesture drawing classes on Monday, Wednesday, Friday pays off, basically. You want to get used to capturing action and intent quickly with poses you create. Like you want to be able to like reference poses, but you also want to be able to invent poses and attitudes on the fly too. Those are just some random examples. Anyway, so I don't know. I wish I could give a better example of a pose for that, but I mean, like, just play with it. Because he was looking to screen left on the last panel, I'm gonna have maybe his eyes looking still more over in that direction. The panel here is like a cut to close up, which is a bit abrupt, but it's the same thing. But I mean, this can still work. Like, you have his mouth kind of cut off. In this case, we're gonna like treat his head like an ellipse, and we're gonna keep the derp eyes expression just for fun. Just kind of play with what you have here, and then we're kind of pretending that this is going to probably be like a 1-point perspective shot, but we're gonna kind of fake that we're looking down on him when he might have like a z-axis to him or something. But you need to pretend that there's a vanishing point somewhere over here for this upshot, so you can make a proper floor grid behind him, basically. And now this is a serviceable thumbnail panel. And for the last one here, it looks like there's like a giant cartoon boot that comes out of Mr. Elevator, but it's the same issue as before. You need perspective and stuff. Fortunately, fortunately, you could probably just reuse the perspective grid we did for the first panel. So you can just copy paste that real quick. And then draw in the boot coming out. And you can really play with that, like, play with it really loose. Just maybe make him red. Some of the papers flying up and stuff. Mr. Elevator's mustache is parted. He's pissed, but his eyes are derping, which is funny. What you can do is, to set up this gag, you can have like a shot kind of like this. Again, where the elevator is closed, and you wait a beat, and then ding, doors open. And then bam. Remember to draw those arrows for what's happening with the action too. Like if the elevator door is open, you do little arrows. And then you do like an arrow for like the action of the foot coming out. I'm doing a little kind of like a shadow indication right here of where the character shadow is too on the 3D grid on the ground. Anyway, so I'll move on. Oh shit. Give me a second here. I'm gonna take a quick bathroom break. Anybody else who needs to get a bathroom break, I would suggest doing it. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. I'll be getting started again in a little bit. Just let me take a stock. We've got 3 more boards to get through. I think we got enough time to do it. Yeah. Yeah, we'll be good. Okay, so last 3 boards, and then I'm going to give you guys your homework assignment for this week, and then I'm going to let you guys go. All right, let's see here. What do we got? What do we got? Oh great social elevator. I offer my hope social elevator. I offer my hopes, dreams, and a pitch. In exchange, I ask for a passage through you. Pretty please? Very well. In a world that has been entirely submerged underwater, the status quo is challenged when a group of scrap collectors find a map that appears to lead to land. So what do you think? I don't know. I thought it was cool. Might throw it up. Might throw it out later. Ooh, go on. Okay, so let's see what we can do with this. So I don't think the first panel is necessarily a bad idea, but we can probably punch it up first off with a floor grid. And because you have kind of a warp perspective thing going on here, we can kind of play with that some more. So the floor grid itself is going to be kind of bent, like kind of kooky, bendy perspective lines. So it's not going to be an exact perspective grid. It's going to be like a kind of a cartoony perspective grid. You can let that influence the character posing a bit. Also, I would say that you can play up the character's posture some more. You can really kind of emphasize like just how just what he's doing. You can even maybe make him doing an action here of like fawning before the great and mighty elevator. If you wanted to play that up even more, you can have like a couple of like vases on either side of him, and like when he's doing that, like there's like this jets of fire that come up towards the end of the before the panel cuts or something. This giant kind of Olmec idol head looking thing, and we can maybe even like play that up even further with like the background design kind of looks like a modernist Aztec temple sort of thing or something, like Temple of Doom looking kind of thing. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of like fake Egyptian and fake Aztec buildings in Hollywood where pitches like this happen, so that would be good to play off of, actually. So I'm not too sure about this panel though. Like I'm not really sure where the camera's placed. There's not a clear sense of perspective. There's not really like so we want to maybe kind of establish what's going to like the posing isn't very clear to me. So let's immediately think of what we can do for this. Let's see here. So maybe like so we have this great panel here, so maybe all right, let me think. So let's make the focus on the character now. I don't know. I'm kind of out of ideas at the moment. Like I sort of burned through so many of my ideas. Okay, well, so I'll leave this one up to you. Come up with a better way to stage this, and maybe have maybe you might need multiple panels for it. You might need like a panel with the thing reacting to them. I'm thinking like of a few like I'm thinking of like maybe a reaction panel. Very well, close up is like really, very well, and really. Very well. Really? And you can like a close up of like the I'm waiting kind of face, and then he takes a breath, then he goes into the pitch. The pitch is like really kind of intense, like you could do like a kind of a looming shot, like acting out the thing, and then when he finishes, and then cut to the elevator idle, going like, I don't know. Like, or ambiguous, like he's not even reacting or something. Like, and then you can go to this panel. Like, the general idea of this panel is like, oh, I don't know, I thought it was cool. I don't know. I thought it was cool. What did he do with the script? When he's doing that little hand thing, maybe like, well, I don't know, I thought it was cool. I don't know, like a pose like this, like fingers spread out, like kind of like rolling the hand over. Like, I don't know, I thought, and like the script's down like that, like. Maybe a clearer pose, like. But yeah, play with something to find out figure out a good pose for the, I don't know, I thought it was cool. Let's kind of play with a version of your pose a bit, just for fun. I don't know. Kind of get a brain fire. But then I like for the last couple panels, like the ambiguous facial expression, like. Go on. Go on. He kind of likes it, and he's like a little into it or something, and then you can end it there if you like. Yeah, those are just some ideas. All right, so let's check out the next. We got 2 more of these to go through. So maybe I want to do this one because I want to maybe do this one last. What are you doing here? Okay, elevator. What are you doing here? Hang on a sec. I have a pitch. It's about a black detective with a shape-shifting demon hand rescuing a guy from a group of white supremacist cultists who are summoning an eldritch order. What do you think? That sounds like it needs work. One thing, and we even know he's a detective. He's beating up white supremacists. Also, why do they need to be white supremacists? Why won't just cultists work? Interesting. You give me something to think about. All right, so let's see. So similar notes to the other stuff. Floor plan for figuring out like what your set is. And the other thing is establish what your perspective is. Keep the rule of thirds in mind for the frame, for planning out your composition. Also, this character is like, they're turned towards the camera here, and they're supposed to be interacting with Mr. Elevator here. So maybe the character should be facing Mr. Elevator here. This panel. This panel is also a little ambiguous. I would maybe want to consider a different setup than the camera angle that you have here. So I would leave that to you to come for how you want to stage your initial shot. You can look at some of the other examples people have done and some of the demos I've done drawovers for ideas for that, but I would maybe come up with a different shot for how you set things up. Try to figure out what you're trying to say, what the point is, what you're trying to say with this. What you're trying to say with this, from what I can see, is you are someone who is trying to get some feedback on something, and the elevator gives you something to consider, which is potentially interesting to play with. But yeah, it's the same kind of thing. Like if you're working with a panel like this, you establish the sky grid. In this case, the center of the attention is the character, so generally the vanishing point will be on a character in the shot or where the center of interest is. Not always. Depends on what kind of feeling you're trying to get using perspective and angle. But in this case, it probably would work to put a sky grid that kind of is following a vanishing point for the character. This one, it looks like that there's probably going to be a vanishing point up here somewhere, and that there's another vanishing point back here for the ceiling. Unfortunately, the top of the elevator gets a little cut off here, so yeah, I think the ceiling would actually be higher in this panel than how you had it. Like much higher up, something. So the character here is just a head. That's fine. But we don't really have any signifier that this is the character from what you drew. So maybe like peek out some of the glasses, or if you have other signifiers in the character design to kind of signify that that's the character that we're looking at from the rear, that would definitely help. And also you can play with the facial expression and the acting of Mr. Elevator stuff. I don't necessarily think this walking away shot could be a bad composition, potentially, but you kind of have it not framed really on center. This kind of reminds me of like a Shining composition a little bit if you pull it off right, which can be potentially kind of fun to mess with. Like, this is really kind of blank, wide open space, and the elevator's all the way back there, and then like you give me a lot to think about. That kind of like symbol that can symbolize like the character sort of mind being expanded and opened and stuff, for like a lot of wide open space stuff, which might, if you start playing more with perspective, will kind of mirror the cinematic possibilities you'll have at your fingertips when you get more comfortable with these tools and stuff. So it's more to play with, basically. Let's knock that back a bit. I kind of like maybe your character sort of following the same vanishing point rules, and then they got their arms at their sides. They're kind of like in here. They're getting wider towards the bottom because there's like this kind of extreme perspective on them or something. And then we can play with pushing back Mr. Elevator more. We see more potentially of the ceiling. We might reframe the shot a little bit higher so we can see more of the ceiling. But yeah, definitely use a floor plan to figure out what this space is, where this scene takes place. And let's see. I mean, you can keep it simple. It doesn't have to be a complicated set. I mean, it can be literally as simple as like this kind of room here. Like you might put like a prop of like a plant or a wall sconce or something like that in there, but it doesn't have to be much. You can just do like a basic cube room if you like. Why is the cartoony perspective grid like the one? Why is the cartoony perspective grid like the one in the previous panel not good all the time? Because there's times when you will not warp the perspective like that. There's times when you want more flat perspective. This is for like really kind of exaggerated, almost kind of fisheye lens look stuff, and it's also it also is something that will come up a lot more in like kind of cartoony, bendy, playful camera angles in a lot of 2D animated shows, sometimes in some 3D stuff too. But there's times to use everything to create different kinds of tones. Like this is like kind of a goofier, warpy, weird, fun sort of camera look. Then there's like this shot right here. I suggested just eliminating perspective entirely and making it like a piece of Islamic art just for this shot. And then there's this one, which is like really extreme perspective, which is we heading more in the direction of kind of like a realistic action show, almost. And this would be an opportunity to like really kind of push your figure drawing abilities and stuff. To really kind of get like something that makes a little bit more visual sense figuratively. So I don't have quite the ability, my abilities are not quite up to snuff yet to be able to do like action show board guy stuff, but that's like basically what it feels like that idea would be heading in the direction of. But yeah, here, we have enough time for this last one here. And I saved this one for last because this one is really clear. So there's a lot more space for me to suggest stuff in it. So this is probably the strongest panel for me because, but there's still stuff that can be done with it. Like there's a lot of ambiguity in the facial expression here. The other thing is that I'm not quite entirely sure what there should have been more of an indication of a floor grid or sky grid or whatever. I think that this is supposed to be indications of like a floor pattern in the background here. Like we're supposed to be looking down on the character, and if that's the case, then we should be seeing kind of more of a sense of the top of their shoulders. We should, and even though the head is tilted up towards us, so we keep that in mind. Actually, let me run down the story real quick. Locator. So elevator, locator, or elevator. So what story? Oh, third floor. No. What's your story? Story? You have a story for me. Oh, I've got one. A young group of teenage demon hunters find themselves entangled in a lifelong servitude to a young runaway noble who saves their lives. Turns out the noble is the prophesied savior of the kingdoms. I think that I think you don't need this last part. I would get rid of that last part in your pitch. A young group of teenage demon hunters find themselves entangled in lifelong servitude to a young runaway noble who saves their lives. There you go. I think that's a good enough pitch. There probably could be some more stuff added to it, but like I think as a base starting point pitch, that's a good one. Like you don't need to reveal the. Turns out the noble is prophesied as the savior of the kingdom. Like that's something that would come out like in later episodes. Like you want to hook somebody with the basic premise. So yeah, you'd have like the hoodie kind of going back over his shoulders. You'd probably have his ears sort of going back into space or something. Maybe have like one ear up and one ear down. Might even oh, what was that? Somebody got an alarm. Might even have like something like his head's tilted, like kind of doing well, he's an anthropomorphic animal, so maybe you can do like kind of a dog thing where he's like a dog thing where they tilt their heads to the side with one ear up when they're trying to hear something. There's a number of different ways you can play. I want you to kind of play. I want to kind of rethink this panel, like for like the acting you can put into it, and of course you have permission to make multiple versions of the panel and multiple action panels for different changes of expression and emotion. So I want you to really play with this panel. And also, of course, include a well-defined perspective grid behind them. Same with this shot, for example. This shot this shot calls for a wall grid right here. All right, so aside from that, like, there's more stuff you can do to play. So you kind of get the idea. Like, you're gonna have to do perspective grid stuff here. You're also gonna want to do the rule of thirds to check to see if there's anything you can do to punch up the positioning of the characters or the composition and stuff. Like, the rule of thirds thing is just a checking tool to see how things balance out on a scene. Like, for example, I'm kind of feeling like it would be better to position your character a little bit more over here, kind of. And maybe the elevator could be pushed more over there or something. Although the framing isn't necessarily bad of having like this kind of like a foreground element here. But you would want to maybe like use that to cover like the first third of the frame, and then you just have like this. So then you basically have like this is the active area of the frame, almost like at the end, the part of a framed comic panel, sort of. And you have your character here who's kind of covering up this sort of, he's kind of like at this kind of crossroads area right here, which is also symbolic of storytelling, where he's at a crossroads making a decision about his story or something, or he's kind of like, sort of thinking about his story or something. But yeah, I want you to play with the acting more of what this character would be doing. I'm not too sure about this pose. He's supposed to be excited, but what's he actually doing? Like what's he actually doing here? It's like he's describing an idea here. So maybe he's like leaning back like this. He's like got his hand out like that, and he's kind of like, maybe his other hand's like right here on like the elevator or something. And the elevator's kind of eyes following. Kind of a wide stance. So lean against the elevator. Picture this. Lovely scene or something like that. The elevator's kind of like, huh. But yeah, just start playing with like acting for the character. Just start thumbnailing out ideas for different poses and stuff. And you want to have a purpose and a point to what the character is, how the character is posed and why. You can start playing with like quickie thumbnails of the character. Like I'm just kind of using this sort of wireframe figure right here. Sort of play with your Fox character a bit, to sort of mess with him. Like they don't have to be like the world's greatest drawings. You just kind of play with the basic personality of the character, and this becomes like a foundation for like something that you might for playing with attitude and stuff. You would take these like basic gestural postures, and then you can work them up. Like it's not too hard to just like get like an eye line in there, get like some.
Do you want to be able to hear it?
Hear what?
It's on. There's something.
We're getting some really bad crosstalk from somebody here. If you could self-mute, thank you. Thank you. Anyway, so yeah, start playing like when you have a character like this, that's a little bit more well-defined character. Start playing with different attitudes and different ranges of emotions and stuff for them. And it doesn't matter if they're like super crude thumbnail quick things. As long as like you get like the shorthand of the emotion across, or the feeling of the attitude and stuff. You can use that as a foundation for the more elaborate drawing when you actually work out like the actual dimensionality of the face and the muzzle and stuff. And then get the expression of the character on there and so on. This isn't your character necessarily. I'm just using this generic shorthand cartoon character as an example. But yeah, yeah, definitely play with the posing of it. Like I said, you have more freedom this week to add more panels to this and more action and stuff to it. Go back and rewatch this video on my. It'll be up on Twitch. Rewatch the video of the stream so you can listen to my notes again, because I give lots of bits and pieces of tidbits of things. This video is also going to be on YouTube. I'll upload it there later as well. But I've gone over quite a lot of information today to give a lot of people. Like, I want people to take bits and pieces of everything I've gone over as part of what they do this next week. And what I want you to do this next week is start making directorial decisions about how you integrate some of the feedback that I gave you, how you will add stuff to this. You can take this thing at your own pace. Like, you don't have to go super elaborate. I'm not expecting like a huge, like, fully thought out storyboard. Take this thing as far as you are able to, and just play with it. Even if you like do things badly, it's better that you try doing things badly than not do anything. But as you go through it, I want you to keep the Flooby Newbie storyboard tips page handy. Let me, here, 1 second. Yeah. I want you to keep the Flooby Newbie storyboard tips page handy, right here. This giant document with tons and tons of tips. Just go through it. Take off little chunks of it. This main page right here is the main one I want people to pay attention to, with the different types of shots. Try to figure out what type of shot you're going to use and why. There's different reasons for using certain shots, and think of what you're trying to say and what kind of emotion or feeling that particular shot that you're using conveys. So I want you to dig through, so my homework this week, I will be giving you as an addendum to the homework sheet from last week. So the homework sheet from last week, that is a Google Doc that is in the homework section of my Discord. This was homework 1 right here. Well, actually, no. That was this was week 1 stuff right here. So that was all week 1 homework. Week 1 homework. So I'll put that in bold there. Do week 3, and this homework will be due next week on the 30th. Or storyboard homework for a week. 11:23 now. So I'm gonna push this down here. So that's week 1 homework. You can have the current week homework. So week 2 homework. Week 2 homework is homework 1. Continue developing your 4-panel exercise, but based on the critique and feedback you received in my class. I want you to experiment with adding more panels, defining your ideas clearer, and playing with the tools of storyboarding with the help of the Flooby Newbie storyboarding tips mega post. Let's see here. I'll link that in there. You can make the storyboard as elaborate or as simple as you like or are able to. Additionally, if you did not submit or participate in the week 1 4-panel homework exercise, you can still submit for it next week and get feedback if time permits. Cool. All right. So I'm also going to say rewatch the video of the 11/23/21 storyboard class when it goes live on YouTube or the Twitch video replay. So be attentive to a lot of the information I gave other participants in the homework, as it also applies to your work and your boards. Use things like thumbnail planning that you to quickly work out ideas before defining them more clearly. Use clear perspective, floor, wall, ceiling grids. Remember to have purpose to how shots are composed and how characters are staged or posed. And other notes. Yeah. You can add additional scenes and action panels at your own directorial discretion. All right. Additionally, if that's blah, blah, blah. Eventually, by the way, we're going to be working towards making an animatic out of this assignment. So we're going to be working on this maybe next week and in the following week. Yeah, just if you did not fold that in real quick. Next week. All right, so homework 2. Start doing lots and lots. Start doing lots. Start doing cinematic storyboarding and compositional studies of films. You can study posing, shot composition, editing, camera moves, reverse engineering a shot, etc. Pay particularly close attention to information that is on this page of the Fluby newbie guide regarding certain terminology for different kinds of shots, and I'll include a link to that. Whoops. Here we go. The terminology. It's the terminology section right here on Fluby Newbie, but here's a direct link to the image itself. A good example, great examples of different kinds of studies can be found on this person's Twitter account. We'll bring them up real quick. Oh yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff I looked over that I actually wanted to share later. We'll share. There's a bunch of cool stuff that I found on Twitter in the last few days that I'm also going to share at the end of class here. That will give you guys some fun inspiration to check out. But here, let's see. Where's that person's post? Here it is. Here it is, right? No, that's not it. Shit. All the way down here. Okay, here we go. It's the eye cager. Here we go. This is their Cowboy Bebop study. But check out the other studies they do on their account too, because there's different types of studies. So there's like compositional studies and there's like shot breakdown. This one is like the main one. This is one of the main ones, definitely. And like the Cities of Gold one and so on are also good ones to look at. But the good news is this homework and stuff with the storyboarding compositional studies, we're going to be doing some of that together. So we'll be meeting up probably like Tuesday and Thursday this next week, and we'll be doing some more of that. And I'll maybe be sneaking in time during certain days to do some of that myself. But I want to do like breakdowns and storyboard and cinematic studies and stuff. And this will be the cinematic studies will be a long-term project. Homework 3, start organizing your idea for your personal project, or if you are presently working on a student or personal film, be ready to have that ready to submit for feedback. You do not need to turn in any work for this week, but if you want feedback on your student personal film project, feel free to submit this. Eventually, we are going to move into the direction of developing your personal work. So there. That's the week 2 homework right now. So, just to recap, continue developing your 4-panel exercise. If you didn't do the 4-panel exercise this last week, you can just refer to the elevator pitch comic assignment from week 1. If you haven't done it, if you haven't participated in the week 1 yet. Homework 2, compositional and storyboarding studies of films. And homework 3, and by the way, do these at your own pace and do as many of them as you feel stuff. This is an essential tool for any story artists or just animators in general, for that matter. So we're going to be making this a regular part of our tool belt and a regular part of our practice. So it should be really fun. Start organizing your idea for your personal project, or if you're presently working on student film. Yeah, that's the other one. And like I said, you can, if you want some feedback on your own personal student project stuff, you can submit that in the homework section, and just make a note that it's your personal project. So yeah, cool. Thank you all for coming. I'm glad we got through everyone. Let's see if there's anyone who submitted late who wanted feedback just for. No, I think we got everyone. Goody. Very nice. I hope that helps you guys. There's a lot of first timers here. There's some people that look like they're probably animation students who've submitted. There's pretty good mix of people of different skill levels and stuff. And I hope that like this is like this assignment is a first step. It's a first step to play with these ideas and just to play with this stuff. Like, don't feel beaten up by any of this stuff. This is like you're gonna continually grow and add to your ideas and learn how to play with things and stuff. And we're gonna be like messing around with studying a lot more stuff too. Like I said, I'm interested in possibly screening some cool films for us to check out. It would be cool to like play a film while we're also doing studies of it or something, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, like I'm gonna make sure I post all of these on my Patreon. Also, probably upload these to the homework share section, so that the Patreon will be a public post that anyone can read, even if you're not signed up on my Patreon. So I just kind of noticed the elevator actually has his arms folded, which is pretty funny. Yeah. And we got through a lot. I'm really happy with this class session. I'd say this class session was a really big success, both for the people that submitted, and I personally got a lot out of it. Part of the reason that I wanted to do this is like I get fired up creatively trying to problem solve other people's work, and so I'm really I had a blast doing this, and I'm going to, and also I wanted to share another couple things with you. I'm looking at possibly enrolling in a storyboarding class myself pretty soon. Let's see, the Concept Design Academy, which is actually the first place that Ethan Becker took classes at, from Ethan Becker Discord, Ethan Becker's Discord is where my little mini community event branched out of originally. But Concept Design Academy, they have really amazing instructors there. So the main one that I was recommended was Kevin Chen, his analytical figure drawing class, but I was told that it's really only worth taking if you can be there in person. And currently right now, because of the COVID-19 situation, especially in California, all of CDA's spring classes are taught online in their Zoom format as a safety precaution. So I may hold off on Kevin Chen's class. It's until like that opens up. But the two classes I'm looking at right now is 2 storyboarding for TV animation classes. One's on Saturday, one's on Monday, being taught by Michael Chang and Trey Biongiorno. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But they both look like really awesome storyboard artists. You can see this guy worked on like She-Ra and looks like he looked on like the Big Hero 6 animated series. Not sure what this is.
Trey Buongiorno.
What's that?
That's his name. It's an Italian name.
Yeah. Well, Giorno is definitely Italian. I just don't know how to pronounce that first part.
Buon.
It's buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
Yeah, it's a good day.
Buongiorno. Yeah, I've got California mouth, so it's pretty hard.
I'm an actual pasta, so I'm an Italian, like in Italy. So yeah, buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
I'm not fluent, but I have studied a bit of Italian, so that's why I kind of came in.
Yeah. So, excuse me, sir. But yeah, Michael Chang, yeah, he's worked on some cool shit. It's hard for I think I would do well with either of these guys, but I think I would lean towards, well, the Saturday class means that I would be like, the Saturday class's schedule is, that one gets off at 1:30 p.m. That means literally like I would jump from that into my storyboarding class with you guys, so that I could potentially like regurgitate some of, ethically, mind you. I don't want to like. I'll probably ask the instructor, like, what can I tell these people that I have on my Twitch stream without, unethically, like, basically blurting everything that you teach during your classes for free. I'll probably ask about that, but it would be cool to like, immediately after the class, immediately jumping right into like literally practicing what the guy went over. So that might be really cool to do. That it's like a big giant massive punch of storyboarding for like the whole freaking day. 4 hours of that, and then maybe like about like 2 to 3 to 4 hours of more stuff with the folks in here. That would actually be really awesome. It looks like there'd be enough time for like a break, like an hour or a half hour before I do stuff with you guys. But let's see. What was the other day? The other day was like Monday 7 to 11 p.m. Well, that was Kevin Chen's analytical figure drawing. That wasn't it. The okay, what was the other story? Yeah, it was the storyboarding for TV animation one on 7 to 11 p.m. That one was a Monday class, so I'd be going to that one, 7 to 11. So if I was going to be doing like it would be a good idea for me to like still do the figure drawing class that I do on that day. I would just do that earlier and maybe like keep it to 1 to 2 hours, I would use it as kind of a warm-up period, sort of, for warming up for like Michael Chang's class or something, you know. That might be kind of cool. Yeah, I'm probably gonna enroll in one of these two right here, so it's not just a matter. I'll kind of like peek at the. I'll kind of like check out the. I think I would do great with either of them, honestly, based on like what little I'm seeing here. Like these are really good storyboard panels and stuff, and it's cool to see awesome examples of the work these people. Currently supervising director on Red Gremlins at Oh, I think I might have to go with this guy because I really love Gremlins. Gremlins 2. Oh, we've got to screen Gremlins 1 and 2. Gremlins 2 in particular Gremlins 1 is fun. Gremlins 2 is an underappreciated work of cinematic genius, and I'm not exaggerating. It's a brilliant satirical film on the crass consumerism of Hollywood. It's an extremely subversive movie, and it was really underappreciated for what it was at its time. But like more people are starting to realize just how genius it was now. So we'll definitely watch Gremlins 1 and 2. I think that'd be really a big blast. Yeah, I think that clinches it. I'm gonna have to probably take Michael Chang's class because come on, Gremlins. I'd love to take both of it. These guys both seem really awesome though. But yeah, I'll check out both their work. So why not? But I'm leaning towards Chang because of that. Yeah, storyboard arts for Disney TV. Yeah, that's also a tough one too because this guy seems really awesome too. It's gonna be a tough call. Anyway. So, I would actually like to open the floor to chit-chat if people have any questions or if they have a question about the homework or suggestions or anything cool or awesome they want to share, you know, before we kind of wrap things up here. Jello.
I did I did 3 passes on my project, but I only put in 1. So
Oh, that's fine. I mean, you could have submitted all 3. It was fine. It was kind of loosey-goosey with what the parameters for the assignment was. I'm happy that some people submitted more stuff because then when we got to like show an example of what you can do when you're doing like quick thumbnails of stuff and you have multiple panels and things. A lot of times in storyboarding, you sometimes solve problems by changing panel order, and then you just like slightly modify a few things here and there, like some of the posing or whatever to make a better hookup. And then sometimes like it's kind of like an editing thing, basically like a film editing thing, where like suddenly you change the order in which images appear and it changes the meaning or it makes it a more effective scene or something. Yeah.
Back when I was at a dedicated animation school, I actually did take my storyboarding very seriously. And,
yeah, well, I mean, this is a good opportunity for it. I wish I'd taken storyboarding more seriously when I was in animation school. I mean, I did, but it wasn't my focus.
Well, I only had 2 years in that program, and I didn't take my animation seriously enough. Result, I can't get a job.
I would say like so this group that we're in right here, like I'm not a like I said, I'm not a professional storyboard artist. I am a professional animator, but I want to become a professional story artist, and but not just like to work in storyboarding, but also to get better at like, you know, planning out my ideas and like coming up with better like pathos for my animation and stuff. And so that's why I'm calling this the Saturday Study-Budz, because this is not like me dictating to you as a expert in the field what you're supposed to do. No, this is me as a amateur instructor trying to lead a study group where we're all trying to improve together and try to learn from people better than us. So I want everyone to like kind of, you know, take what I say with a grain of salt and do their own homework and like take the initiative themselves with how they learn this stuff. And have fun with it also. That's the important part. Like the end goal you're working towards is you want to be making awesome, cool stuff you can be jazzed about making. And potentially lead into getting hired to do that stuff professionally. Here, so and on that note, like I would recommend looking into places like the Concept Design Academy. If you struggle with like fundamentals and stuff like a figure drawing or other things like that, then Stuff like the Kevin Chen class, which I definitely want to take at some point, by the way, it would be great for you. Or if you're an absolute beginner, there's foundational classes in places like this. Like Brainstorm Academy. Brainstorm Academy is really good. They just started their spring semester, actually. Folks here, everyone here should be thinking, try to be thinking about what kind of classes you could budget for in the future. So Brainstorm Academy is a good one. Concept Design Academy, which is the one that I'm looking at, is a good one. Studio Technique is a really, really good one I heard great things about. This one's for figure drawing and for animation. Samantha Youssef, who's a really intense instructor. I've heard if you take anything with her, you've got to really dig in hard for it, by the way. Let's see. There's a bunch of other places too, but I'm just going to stick with mentioning those 3 main ones right now for today. But yeah, like I said, you can review this video of the day later on, or this video replay later on Twitch. And I'll also, after I end the stream, I'm going to be uploading it to YouTube, and it should be up on YouTube in the next day or two. If you need to review any of the information that we went over in here. But yeah, if I'm going to ask again before we get done here. Is there anything anyone else has anything to add to? I'm going to check the text chat too.
I've got a question.
Yes.
Would it be better to analyze animation or like a standard movie?
Both. When you analyze the film, live action film, you can pull stuff. You can try converting that into how you would adapt what you're seeing on there into animation. Like some points you would not have necessarily a moving camera. You would have panning over a still background. That's one possibility. The other is like you can analyze, like you can use it as an opportunity for like figure posing practice and stuff like that Spartacus test, that Spartacus thing that this artist did. Let me bring it on screen. Well, here, look, here's some of the film studies they did. You can see they did some of like The Incredibles, which is of course a 3D animated film, right here. You can see they did some from Yojimbo, which is a live action film, and Magnificent Seven here. And you can see here they did, but these were compositional studies. So these were paying close attention to light and dark and breaking them down into simple kind of angular shapes, right here. This was more kind of an action study, an analysis of action poses in a fight scene and pacing in a fight scene and stuff. Right here from Spartacus. This is more like a reverse engineering of an animated scene, of an animated film, of panning over how backgrounds panned over and stuff. This is like kind of reversing engineering the kind of notes that would go into making this stuff, making this animated scene work and stuff. You can see he has like a floor grid down there with the kids spinning over the background there as he's sliding down in the rain puddle, the rain slicked street, and so on. The compositions here and stuff. And I would recommend people read the notes here about the notes that this guy took, and it'll give you some ideas of how to make little notes of things. Like, for example, like look at this. They're noticing little details like, hey, look, this background is basically an arrow pointing to the kid, right here. Hey, look, this directional element to the monk, right here. This little kind of the way the door is kind of angled downwards, pointing towards the monk, because it's like the big door of this front of this cathedral or whatever that's open, and the angle is like angled down towards his head. Monk alludes to the drama here and stuff. It's all the kinds of little notes and observations. These are for you to make, and these are this is like you can mimic this format that they used of like very clear, simple shapes, like not overly complicated, keeping things simple and differentiated. You kind of imitate this approach. That would be a good thing to do for sure. imitating the clarity would definitely help for sure. But yeah, check out this person's Twitter and the studies that they've done. They also have done some animations, character construction studies like this that might give you some ideas of things to do. That this isn't storyboard specific, but this is like drawing practice specific. That would be good to do. So in the long run, you're going to be wanting to like practice a lot of stuff. But yeah, as far as like the storyboard and cinematic studies go, these are great examples. When we meet up throughout the week, we'll be going over more. And like I said, the cinematic studies thing is kind of a long-term project. We'll be figuring out different strategies and different approaches to do those. I mean, there's such things as like color scripting cinematic studies, where you're studying the color composition of shots, and there's all kinds, there's tons. The sky's the limit as far as like how you can do study breakdowns of cinema. But yeah, like I said, like I would say do a mix of animated productions and live action productions. And I think that you can also look at some existing animatics and storyboards. Like, let's see here. On Sakugaburu. Sakugaburu is an excellent resource for animation scenes and also for storyboarding scenes. There's a lot. Oh, there's been a lot of storyboards from Animaniacs put in here. Yeah, check this out. You see how this is? Like this animatic is like almost kind of like a limited animation animated film. Like this is not out of the question for something that if it was like slightly more cleaned up, this would work just fine as like a something that you'd see like uploaded to YouTube from like a single animator making the entire animated film. Yeah, Sakugaburu is really great. I would I'm gonna put that in the
in the doc.
Yeah, I'm gonna put that in the doc. Where is the doc? I did not. Fuck it. I don't have the doc open, but Sakugaburu, keep Sakugaburu in mind. There's a lot of great stuff, and I'm glad that like the Animaniacs has seen a lot of uploads. Oh, there's character design stuff. See, check this out. This is playing with that bendy, warped, cartoony perspective I was talking about. And look at this. You can actually see like the rough, so that rough, loose, scribbly stuff that I was showing off, like in the shorthand kind of thing that you can do. Like, I mean, you do that, and then you just do another pass over it, or another couple passes over it, as many passes as you need to like get like a more defined character drawing like this out of the pose. These are character design drawings, but these are also like good to check out for very clear posing and stuff. And there's little bits and pieces of stuff that this is something that would not be out of the question to be seen in the storyboard panel right here. Huh. Those are cute. I actually still haven't watched I've seen bits of it, but I still need to watch the new Animaniacs. It's pretty great.
I've seen some of it. I haven't seen the whole thing yet.
Yeah. Well, I definitely think like checking out some of it this week and maybe doing study. I should definitely maybe do some studies from it this week. That'd be pretty cool. I like that upshot there, that dude. One thing that does bug me about Sakugaburu is there's no audio on the animated clip, sadly. So when dialogue or sound effects are really important for a shot, you don't get it there. But oh well. It's probably copyright restricted music. This is a really great animated scene. There's a lot of great subtle action going on with that. Yeah, there's animatics and storyboards and stuff on here for Animaniacs to check out for sure. And I mean, there's lots of anime on Sakugaburu and a lot of anime storyboards. Let's see here. This is Genga. This is That's animation, that's not storyboarding. This is storyboarding. Here's some anime storyboards. It's for Gurren Lagann. But yeah, Sakugaber is a great resource. Oh, look at that. This is a post-it note. The post-it note method for Avatar: The Last Airbender. See? That's what I was talking about last week, using the post-it note method right there. And they literally like used the storyboarding panel sheets, and they shot them and like timed them out to into an animatic. Anyway, so we're going to wrap things up here now. Let's see here. Congratulations, Gillian. Well, I found the other day the congratulations, Evangelion storyboard. Here it is. Yes. So yeah, thank you all for coming. We're gonna cut it off here. Do we want to raid someone? Actually, do we have enough people to raid?
Great.
Yeah, let me take a peek and see if there's anyone worth raiding right now.
I will not be raiding tonight. I have some Minecraft.
There's in any case, there's like around 21 people in chat. Like at the very least, you can pop in someone's stream to check them out for a few minutes, and then you can pop out. For anyone who can stick around, that is. Let me just see if there's. I'm gonna see if there's anyone who's streaming right now who'd be worth raiding. Preferably someone I know.
Hey, would you like to see the storyboard that I'm working through at the moment?
Sure. Yeah. Well, you can post it in the storyboard section under the animation, art and animation.
The thing is that it's not really like a single page thing. It's something that I'm working on through like Storyboard Pro at the moment.
Yeah.
So
that's fine. We're gonna be going over some Storyboard Pro stuff this week too, because I need to refresh my knowledge and like learn some workflow habits.
All right.
Yeah, I don't really see anybody I know on right now, so we'll kind of skip the rating for today. We'll do rating another time when it's more worth. All right, so I want to congratulate everyone for coming here. So you guys get the Evangelion congratulations screen.
Congratulations!
Oh, Monday's class, I'm gonna be figuring out what we're gonna be doing for that. That one's still gonna be figure drawing, but like I said, because we're moving in a storyboard oriented direction, I want to see what we can do that would give us good value for that, as far as like helping us with storyboarding stuff. So I'm hoping that we can get some kind of like compositional related things involved with Monday's class, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, so I'll see you guys on Monday too. I might be doing something Sunday also. So pay attention to the Discord for that. But we'll see. All right.
Congratulations!
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 Congratulations! Congratulations! Congratulations! Congratulations!
Congratulations!
Congratulations!
Congratulations!